When you get yourself to the corner of 16th Street and Georgetown, you know you're entering a magical place. When you go underneath the track around the start-finish line, when you head yourself into the infield or into the grandstand, you know that you are back home again in Indiana. Today marks the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500, and the green flag is about 45 minutes away. There's never been a two-time winner of this event. 2010, Justin Dalston kicked off the lineage of 1 wins only. In 2011, it was Tim Doyle. Young O in 2012, Buddy Kostecki in 2013. With Tim Holgate in 2014, Cam Stark in 2016, Matt Pavelski in 2016, and last year, well, that was Christopher Demerit. Only 2 drivers has ever been the fastest in terms of qualifications more than once. Brandon Traino, he has done it twice in 2016 and 17. The other driver, Mitch McCracken, he was fast in 2012. He's fastest again in 2018. That is the stage. That is what we set you up for one of the most prestigious events in all of sim racing. One of the biggest events in all of sim racing. The 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500 on RaceSpotTV. And our broadcast today is sponsored by Huxenveld Engineering. Welcome to the Brickyard. Welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Welcome to the Cathedral of Speed. Will Vincent, Randy Cheneth, and Aaron Likens, we are going to be with you all afternoon long. And well, Randy, yesterday, qualifying was almost anticlimactic. But it's close. It's been as close as it's ever been for one of these big-time events.
I think the notion shared amongst many of the drivers is never seen a qualifying week like this. I mean, we talked about it with Niles Landers, in years past. We'd be talking about a 1/10 or so covering the entirety of the field, and here we are with about 600ths of a second from first down to 33rd. It's the most competitive year, I think, for the iRacing Indy 500 ever.
Yeah, welcoming back Aaron Likens to the RaceSpotTV booth. And well, Aaron, it's been a while since you and I have had the chance to chew the fat here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but there's always something special about this race. I remember the first time we did it, it was actually on PSR TV. We worked together from PSR TV to Glacier Racing, and of course, for the last 4 years on RaceSpotTV, 5 years even.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. And each of those races, each of those winners you mentioned, every race had such a great storyline. And with the qualifying times as close as they are, trying to pick a winner out of who can win this race, anybody that is starting in this race has that chance. So the strategy that we are going to see today, I am so anxious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, the last couple of races have had quite a few cautions, Randy. We're actually having a look at some highlights from the last race that took place. It started actually only about 3.5 hours ago. So a lot of these drivers, they've had a lot of practice, and you made a very good point before we came on air. A lot of drivers learn something on Friday night, they bring that in to Saturday afternoon.
That's the big thing. One of the big interesting things about the Indy 500 is the fact that you have sort of the multiple races, and the drivers will learn something from those. Because these cars are so sensitive, it's not like running a GT car. We see with some of the, with one of the World Tour road course races, you don't really learn anything in an earlier race whenever you do those. If you do a 6-hour, 12-hour race, assuming it's not a 24-hour race that only has a single split. But these cars are so sensitive to how the track changes. They're so sensitive to aerodynamic changes that you learn a lot in how that car will adapt to the circuit, adapt to the field on that very first race on Friday. Because for a lot of those guys, I mean, the first time that people are starting deep into a field, a lot of people in practice, running with teammates, yeah, they might be on a bigger team. They might be able to get 6, 7, 8 cars deep into a bit of a pack and be the last car in a pack. But it's going to be one of the few times that you might be able to run, if you qualified mid-pack, it's going to be the first time you have 15 cars in front of you and 17 cars plus behind you and know what it's like to really not have any air anywhere near the car. So it's always an interesting thing, and those Friday races are always a bit of a testing ground for these drivers when we don't get the big sort of test sessions that you get in real life, where we have sort of the big trains of cars going around on the likes of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during warm-ups.
Yeah, here's a look then at the drivers and how they qualified for this, the 9th annual iRacing Indy 500. We'll preface this by saying, of course, there are 4 races. Not every driver in your top 33 will necessarily show up for this event. But one thing we can say, Mitch McCracken, 39.039. He gets the honors of not only getting himself, Aaron, the fastest time in qualifications, but joining Brandon Traino is the only driver to have that in more than 1 year.
And the question will be, will we, as you mentioned earlier, will we get that second winner? But, you know, before the race, qualifying to have that top spot 2 times. So we've had 2 multiples in 9 years. That is, well, elite company. And looking ahead next year, will we have a 3-time one? Well, that's 365 days away. Thing today is, will Mitch McCracken finally crack that top spot in the race?
Bradley Walters, 4/1000 of a second behind Mitch McCracken in terms of qualifications. Rick Music, Jake Sperry's new favorite driver, is in 3rd place. Tanner Watkins, 4th. Christian Steele and P number 5. Matt Cook, Martin Miller, 2 of the Banshee LOX drivers. They have come so close before, but never won this event. Then P number 8, 9, and 10, Randy. Interestingly, we got ourselves some drivers on the roadside. Marcus Jensen, Michele Constantini, and Kevin Ellis Jr. looking to make their mark at the Speedway.
Seen some of these guys before. Of course, Michele Constantini, yeah, he comes from the roadside, but also very well known in the IndyCar community, especially with that old IndyCar and very quick in his own right. But Marcus Jensen and Kevin Ellis Jr., a couple of drivers, I believe, coming out of the Apex sort of paddock. Those guys had very good races last year. Kevin had a good run all of last year, was running in the top 5, top 8 or so the entirety of that race until he got taken out into an issue, I think, with about 20 to 30 laps to go. Look for him to potentially be competitive.
Cycler on back then, P number 11 through 20 in terms of fastest times. John Hasek Doggett in P number 11. 2 veterans of this car, Budweiser and Sam Bonzet, P12 and 13. Jeff Drake, we talked to him actually before we came on air. He's in 14th. Adam Plunkett in P number 15. Andrew Kinsella, he was actually in the top 2 in the last race here, Randy. Got involved in an incident whilst battling for the race lead and ended up not finishing the event. Now that's going to hang in your mind as you head yourself to the big one.
Yes, that's as much as drivers learn things. In some ways, they might generate a bad habit after that Friday race. You know, that race may not go very well, and it might alter their sort of state of mind, the way they approach the race. That could be for better, that could be for worse. We're going to have to wait and see how Jake Sperry's pick adapts to that after what just happened.
Adam Blocker, P number 18, Jim Swimbanks in P19, AJ Burton rounds out your top 20. There's drivers P number 21 through 30. Note the fact that you've got yourself Alex Simpson in there, World Championship Grand Prix Series winner. You have got the driver of Brandon Traino in that set as well. Traino, of course, one of the other drivers to have had 2 pole positions or 2 fastest times for the iRacing Indianapolis 500. Randy Crosno, P number 26. Henry Bennett done some fantastic racing in things like the Classic IndyCar Series and the Indy Elite Series this year. Downing 28, Christopher Demerit in P number 29. I mean, of course, we need to talk about that guy, Mr. Christopher Demerit. Aaron, he is one of those drivers that can do not only 2 wins, he can make it 2 in a row.
Demerit's a driver. There's very few drivers that you can race with that you have 100% confidence on what they're going to do, that they're going to give you just enough room. They aren't going to crowd you. Now, if we get inside the last 5 laps, well, all bets are off. There's going to be all the crowding and pinching as possible. But Demerit is one of those drivers that is going to be there at the end. And if anybody can make it from back in the field to the front, it's Demerit. So let's watch early if we get an early caution to see if he's going to go off sequence to try to get that track position, which I think is going to be so critical here today.
Ryan Norton, P number 30, P31, Josh Chin, Michael Chin, 32, Simon Bryant actually ties with Gordon Newjox for 33rd place. Michael Peters on the outside looking in by 1/1000th of a second. 2-time winner in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, Matt Backham, 36, Pash Gergis, 37, Andrew Wood, 38, Tim Doyle, 39. We need to pay attention to him then, Randy, because we know that not all 33 drivers will show up, but Tim Doyle is hoping to get a ticket to this event.
That's the big thing about qualifying for this race. The top 33 represents the sort of honorary, iRacing Indy 500 starting grid. the in terms of tradition, 33 cars take the start of the Indianapolis 500. Now, some of that didn't, and other people were in charge of the event. Didn't end up panning out, was put to the sidelines. But of course, we kind of honor that in the IndyCar community. And those top 33 are guaranteed a starting spot for the top split race. But those people on the outside, there's almost always no-shows like we always expect. You're going to need to be hopeful. And for right now, for Tim Doyle, he needs to hope for 6 cars in that top 30. Not only for 6 cars in that top 33 not turn up, but as well as to maybe have a couple no-shows in front of him. He's already got good luck. The likes of Mac Backham and Pashalis Gurgis, they're participating in the VRS GT iRacing World Championship Series race today. They're likely going to be no-shows, but for Tim Doyle, he's right on the fence of being able to make this top split race with the no-shows out in front of him. I would not be surprised to see him be car number 1 in split number 2.
Yeah. There's a look then. P number 41, 350. Well, we know one driver who's not participating in that one. That's the driver in number 42, Randy Chenoweth. Actually, very quickly, Randy, talk us through your run and how nerve-wracking it was.
I mean, these runs are nerve-wracking. They always are. There's never an Indy 500 run that's easy, but the setup that we were working on with power slide and whatnot was scary for qualifying. It was really good on lap 1. Lap 2 and 3 were excellent, but lap 4, turn 1, the car felt great, but that turn 1 absolutely killed the right rear tire, and you're just basically sliding the car around everywhere else. It's just 4-wheel slides through turn 2, basically dropping 2 to 300s just through turn 2, dropping time all the way down the back straight, and then just holding onto the car, doing some crazy weight jacker adjustments mid-corner at turn 3 and at turn 4 to try to make the car stick. It's scary with the current setup philosophies that at least they found were quick. I know there's a couple other teams that went a slightly different route and maybe found some time on that 4th lap, but gave it up a little bit earlier on in the run. Is one of the interesting things to talk about during the week of qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. So having a look then through drivers outside of your top 50 up on your screen. Want to pay attention as we get down towards driver number 100 in there. Some fantastic names all the way through this. Some people that just couldn't quite get the speed they needed in a new car. And well, actually, that's the thing, Aaron. This is a new car. So a lot of people haven't had the chance to really get themselves up to speed the same way they would normally do.
Yeah, well, a lot of names that you see in about P50 to P100 that in years past were a shoo-in for the top 10. Now, here's a question that we'll have to see moving forward, which maybe some of the teams have worked some of the kinks out, but we've seen this in years past, guys, where cars that do qualify up front, by lap 5, lap 6, they are going backwards like a boat anchor, or potentially even into the wall. We've seen that several times in years past. So just because somebody's qualified in the top 10, these teams spend so much time trying to lock themselves into the field that with the old car they knew how it was going to do, but this car now being out just for about 9 weeks, what is it going to do on the long run? What is it going to do in the pack? So going to be interesting to see if these teams have tackled some of the race setup instead of just focusing on qualifying.
Well, we are getting ourselves ready then for our race coverage presented by Hoyksonveld Engineering, the official partner of RaceSpotTV's presentation of the 2018 iRacing Indy 500. But for those of you with memories as bad as mine, here's a look back even at some past winners and past last laps of the iRacing Indianapolis 500. Turn your headphone down just a little bit. But hey, enjoy it. We'll be back with race coverage next. That pace car going to turn itself down towards pit road once again, meaning the field is now in the command of Chad Simpson for what will be the final restart in this race. He picks up the pace. We are back to green flag racing. A good start there by Simpson. A good start by Ryan also. A little bit sloppier there by Martin Miller. He's under pressure from Cam Stark down in towards turn number 1. That could be a 2-horse race already, Rachel. As the drivers head themselves onto the back straightaway. Cam Stark has got a chance, but he needs to move past Martin Miller immediately on the back straightaway. And that is exactly what he's doing.
Should be as they dance side to side here on the back straightaway. Marnie frowning outside there, Chad Simpson. He knows he has to get to the front and defend that if he has any hope at all of a caution coming out in this race. Simpson on the inside, though, going to the low side, has a good run there, but it's going to have Cam start behind Nudge Money. This is it, Will. This is about to become a 4-horse race.
3 laps to go as they come down in towards turn number 1. Simpson leads again from Nigel Marneath. Miller is back in the picture as well. There you can see your top 6 drivers. They are barely separated by a blanket as they work themselves out of corner number 2. Down the back straight away. Miller tags the wall there. That's going to force this field down to a 2-horse race once again. Cam Stark avoids, and now it's going to mean that Nigel Marneath's going to look to the outside as they work themselves down in towards turn number 3. Simpson has got enough to stay there in play, but Simpson leads with 5 miles of racing remaining, and now Marneath is going to have to find a way past. He's done it on the high side before, Rachel. He looks to the high side once again. 2 laps to go.
It won't be in turn 1. He's going to have to save this one up, but here comes Cam Stark in P3. Got a very, very fast Apex Racing UK car there, Will, but has he got anything there for the HMB car of Marneath? Marneath's so good here in the final laps, but Simpson under threat. Turn 1 is not a good spot, but we have to see this happen in turn 3. He'll have to start there.
There are 6 corners remaining. They're almost going to go 3 wide down in towards turn number 3. Stark getting boxed out. Marneath having to go early. Down in towards turn number 3. And go being Nigel Marneath back to the point. 1 more lap to go of this event down towards the yard of bricks. Nigel Marneath is 1 lap away from making history. Chad Simpson is having to defend for all he's worth. 2 miles of racing to go down in the final lap then. Nigel Marneath leads by 2 tenths of a second from Chad Simpson. Simpson now has got himself 2 corners to catch and pass Nigel Marneath, but Cam Stark is in the mix as well. If they battle for position, that means it's going to be Marneath who is going to do it all by himself. Stark around the outside. He moves himself up into 2nd place, but I don't think he'll have enough to catch up to the rear of Nigel Marneath in the final corner. Here they come towards the start-finish line. It will be Nigel Marneath trying to hold on. It's going to be a drag race to the start-finish line. Cam Stark trying to steer it away at the line. It will be Nigel Marneath winning. We'll get confirmation at the line, but it's going to be a photo finish there. We need to get ourselves another look. It's a photo finish. Our result will come up on your screen any second now, and it is Cam Stark by 8 1/1000ths of a second. Well, yesterday it was 41 1/1000ths of a second, Rachel. Cam Stark today stole from Nigel Marneath, or he stole from Joshua Chin yesterday. Marneath almost did the impossible. He loses out by 8 1/1000ths of a second. Cam Stark is the winner in the iRacing.com Indianapolis 500. Pavelski is driving away. One of the biggest leads we've seen. That's behind. They're all scrapping for positions, but no one can touch Matt Pavelski. As down to the inside, straight up into P number 2. We've got ourselves 5 to go. 2 seconds. Aaron, are you ready?
Does Trano have it? Does he have it? Pavelski last lap of 40.5. Trano needs... Well, he's going to need to put in the best laps of his career. Looking at his best, he on lap 190 ran a 40.2. He is going to need to run qualifying style laps. This lap time really isn't going to give us a gauge of what type of speeds can be run, but best thing for Trano is if somebody can get close and give a little bit of assistance. But with that passing, he lost another 4/10 the margin. 2.1, 5 to go.
5 to go, 12.5 miles to go, Paul.
And it looks like Tim Holgate almost nailed the wall again. But Pavelski is just taken off. He is left. And Trano, I've got to say, that is the move of the race. Trano took care of 3 cars in 2 corners there. And it's just an unbelievable. This is just the way Trano is. When the chips are down, he's just going to hammer it. If he makes it, great. If he doesn't, great. Whatever. At least he tried. That's Trano's way. He has given it all he's got right now to try and chase down Pavelski. And it's got to be frustrating to see that Pavelski is not getting any bigger in front of him.
Pavelski has got a 2.2 second advantage right now over Brandon Trano. And this actually, if it finishes like this, will be the biggest Indy 500 finish we have seen here in the 7 years of broadcasting this event, Aaron. Pavelski is on the verge of making history in that Rockstar machine.
And this is where you try to tune everything out. It's not over till you cross the line and the twin checkers are flying. Ask J.R. Hildebrand, ask Robbie Gordon. Those are 2 drivers that led on lap 199 and did not win the race. Very easy to let emotions, let thoughts get into your head. Be perfect, hit the marks. If his spotters are telling him you're pulling away, don't worry about it. Just run your line. You're on lap 198, settle down, just finish this. This is yours. But when you're leading late, the adrenaline's pumping, your heart's pumping, it's easy to drop a wheel.
Marnif
Well,
behind
Trano
Trano.
nearly caught the wall in turn 1, and yep, that's what I'm calling Marnif. Marnif is all over Trano. Trano just brushed the wall out of 1, and Marnif just stomped on him.
And look at this then, Trano taking the defensive line. Marnif is there right behind him, in towards turn number 1. A caution now, of course, will end it. And we've never seen this race finish under caution. But hey, Aaron, 1.5 laps to go. Here we go. Pavelski is on the verge of making history.
And what a win that would be. He's been a breakthrough driver this past year, but you speak about the yellows, Marnif and Trano for P2 are doing everything they can to end that streak. What a battle for P2. Pavelski off of 4, white flag will be in the air.
1 more lap to go then, and again, Trano versus the driver of Nigel Marnif. They're going to play defensive, but Marnif's going to look to the outside. The white flag is out. 1 more lap to go here at Indy. Through turn number 1 they come, and Marnif can't do anything yet. They head themselves now on the exit of turn number 2. Marnif actually loses a little bit of time as they head themselves now down towards turn number 3 and 4. I don't think Marnif is going to be close enough yet. Ray Alfano is out of this motor race. He spun it around there on the final lap of this race, but it's okay for Matt Pavelski. He will run it to the line. Out of turn number 4 he comes, and once again, a new winner here in the iRacing Indianapolis 500. Matt Pavelski joins one of the most illustrious groups in all of sim racing. Matt Pavelski will win here at IMS. Trano will come in second, Nigel Marnif in third, Tim Holgate in fourth, Alex Simpson rounds out your top 5, and for Ray Alfano, well, it's been on the final lap of the motor race. That is the definition of heartbreak. But today, it is Matt Pavelski's day. The number 10 machine there. What a drive, what a race, what a way to make yourself a part of one of the immortal groups of iRacing. Pavelski wins, Pavelski wins, Pavelski wins here. But the other guys just want it just that little bit more here today. Pace car, pit road. 6 laps to go. And they start now. And SPT gets a pretty good start there. Demerit was caught napping a little bit. In towards turn number 1 they come. High side, Tim Holgate, Brandon Trost through turn number 1. Still side by side, through turn number 2. Holgate can't complete the pass, and that allows Demerit to come on the attack. And you see Trost playing the ultra defensive line, but he's got to be careful now, because if he does that for too much longer, as they go 3 wide, and a bit of a bump there from Demerit. Demerit now side by side with Tim Holgate into turn number 3 here, Randy.
Brandon Trost is driving ultra defensive, and I have to say, the way Trost is driving, I honestly don't think he's going to win this race. He realizes he's put himself after that move with Josh that no one's going to give him an inch, no one's going to work with him, and because of that, he has to go ultra defensive. Holgate picks up the 2nd spot, and I think Trost is going to continue to fall here. If Demerit sees an open window, he's stepping through it.
A caution now will end this motor race. Austin Asperty, he's going to play the defensive card. Here comes Holgate looking to the outside. Turn number 3 and 4. Don't forget, slightly fresher tyres for Tim Holgate. The same will apply to the driver of Christopher Demerit. Round the outside will go Tim Holgate to the race lead. There's going to be now 10 miles worth of racing to go as well. Here we are then. Holgate leads, then Asperty, then Demerit as Asperty back down to the inside, in towards turn number 1, 3 wide, in towards turn number 1, Cisco.
Please, nobody make a mistake. But Demerit on the inside. He's going to come through turns 2 right now. A fantastic run out of nowhere for the 5. He got blocked by Espati just 1 lap ago. Able to keep it moving. To the lead goes the 5. But now here comes the 9 of Espati. He's going to jump on the inside. Into turn 3 goes the 9. Does he have enough to win this thing?
It's a case of pick a lane. I would argue that maybe Tim Holgate has trimmed that car out too much, because Brandon Troyes now looks down to his inside on the exit of turn number 4. Side by side, we know that Christopher Demerit has been the fastest driver to the stripe all day long, but he doesn't make it that time by. Espati leads a lap at the line. There'll be 2 to go at the line. Demerit versus Espati as they work themselves now through turn number 2. And well, Demerit all of a sudden is in the catbird seat, but here comes Holgate looking down to the inside as well. It looks as though coming down to 2 to go, we still got a 5-horse race here, Randy.
Inside of about 7 miles left to go, and Tim Holgate's going to pick up the second spot from Austin Espati. Brandon Trost shuffled to 4th, and he's just stayed there. He's been fighting as well with the 4 machine of Josh Scrupas. Trost going to look to the ultra high line off of 4, not going to make it stick. And here goes Tim Holgate inside of 5 miles left to the inside of Chris Demerit. He's going to beat Demerit to the line as well. 2 to go, penultimate time into 1.
So here they are then, less than 5 miles to go, and Holgate back to the race lead. It does look as though it's a 2-horse race, as it's now going to be Trost versus Espati going side by side. They are very close together as they now work themselves towards the north end of the racetrack once again. But Demerit is right now on the coattails of Tim Holgate. They work themselves to the white flag this time by. It's Holgate versus Demerit, arguably a 2-horse race now, because the drivers behind them have been squabbling for position. Demerit looking down to the inside as the white flag will come out. 1 more lap to go here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as Christopher Demerit has the race lead through turn number 1. He has the race lead through turn number 2. Can Tim Holgate do anything here as he gets himself a run through the back straightaway? They'll come for the final time, and Holgate will look himself to the outside as Christopher Demerit goes ultra defensive there on the low side. It may well cost him, because here comes Holgate. He has the outside line through the final corner for the final time. Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Holgate? It's going to be Christopher Demerit at the line, just costing Holgate a shot at immortality. Demerit wins his first and costs Holgate the chance of winning his second. Christopher Demerit will win the 2017 iRacing Indianapolis 500. Demerit Broken Arrow will win their 3rd iRacing Indianapolis 500. Christopher Demerit win his first, and Tim Holgate at the line loses out by inches here today. But inches means nothing, and Cisco, we always talked about it. If it came down to the run to the line all day long, Christopher Demerit has been the best driver towards the yard of bricks, and he does so with the race victory now, as the Broken Arrow number 5 machine will slow it down for the donuts.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon hay fragrant through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
So here we are. It is time for racing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500 on RaceSpotTV, and our coverage today is brought to you in association with Hoixenveld Engineering. Welcome to the corner of 16th Street and Georgetown, and welcome to the Brickyard. It is Will Vincent along with Randy Cheneth and Aaron Likens here as we get ourselves ready for racing. Track temp is 78 degrees. We have got ourselves race relative humidity of 55%, 2-mile-an-hour winds to the north, and we are going to be running here today for 200 laps, 800 corners, 500 miles. The fastest lap ever set around here was by Dragonetti, 38.240. We don't expect to see speeds of that here today. And of course, last year's winner was the driver of Christopher Demerit. Want to give a shout out to Ismail Balal, TrackCams22.com, to Andreas Warner, the official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV, Simon Grossman, and Appgeneering.com, and RaceSpotTV live timing and scoring, in thanks to Nick Thisson. Aaron, it's go time.
Yeah, we're about 2 minutes away from the green flag, and these drivers, if they had nerves knowing they were going to be in this race last night, the nerves now are kicked up. This is the race everybody wants to win. All the championships in the world don't matter. Your iRacing career is made in the next 2.5 hours.
Well, let's have a look then through your starting grid for this event. The 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Just going to let the camera, there we are, head itself over, and it'll be Liam Quinn who has himself pole position then. Qualifying time of 229.29 miles an hour. Adam Blocker alongside him on that front row of the grid. Row number 2 will be Christopher Demerit. He was last year's winner for Broken Arrow and Burst Esports. Marcus Jensen, we've seen him do fantastic things this year in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Matt
Cook.
You're
looking at the wrong graphic.
We are looking at the wrong graphic. Yeah, we apologize for that one then. We'll get that one sorted out for you as soon as we can. But, well, Randy, let's talk about then this event. Let's talk about the 500, 200 laps. And they always say you do not win a race on lap number 1, but you can certainly lose it.
That's definitely the big thing. We've heard that from these drivers, the fact that these cars are going to change. Expect some crazy pack racing the first 10 laps on the new tires, but after that 10-lap window, the tires start to go away and things start to single file out as the field's going to roll off, and Sadie Synsport driver Bradley Walters will be leading us to green. All Sadie front row, in fact, with Rick Music on the outside.
Yep, so we're going to bring that one up for you in just one moment's time. But Aaron, the nervousness, of course, you've been a part on big races. I have, Randy has. The one thing we can all agree on, it is right now heart rate into about the 180s.
Yeah, you don't, for Bradley Walters, you don't want to Scott Sharp into turn 1 on lap 1. You don't want to be that guy. We saw about 4 years ago our pole sitter was running away with it, and on lap 20, crashed on his own. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the first one out. The nerves are high. It may be a long race, 200 laps, but track position's everything. So if you're in the back half of the field, we say you can't win it on lap 1, but these drivers are going to have to make moves early, especially with the tire degradation that we're going to talk about as the day progresses.
Yep, so the cars are now just working themselves on the back straight away. They'll be ready to go racing in just a few moments' time here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. 200 laps then, as we bring you to the green flag of the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Well, here we go then. That dance towards turn number 1 begins now. Will they all make it through turn number 1? Well, top 20 cars have done so. All cars have made it through turn number 1. All cars have made it through turn number 2 on lap number 1 as they head themselves now down the back straightaway for the first time. It's a long race, and these drivers always seem to know that when they get into that big race field. We've got trouble behind. Aaron, go ahead.
No, we had contact between Tanner Watkins and our pole sitter Bradley Walters entering turn 3. Wow, I wasn't expecting the aggression level that soon, as Walters now going to try to retake P2 going down the front.
Yeah, visit RaceSpot.tv/live for live timing and scoring of this event. Watkins currently running in that 3rd position, but it's Rick Music then who has the lead at the end of lap number 1. Behind, you've got yourself Budweiser, Andrew Consider. They're going side by side on the run through turn number 2 there, Randy.
And the Sadie teammates are going to fight for the race lead once again. Second spot wants it. Tanner Watkins wants to get aggressive, but it's going to be Brad Walters who's going to lead in towards turn 3. Rick Music cycles back to second. Tanner, as they roll through corner number 4, gets shuffled back to 3rd. That's where the power slide train sort of starts to begin. You get Tanner Watkins, Matt Cook, Christian Steele. We got cars in the wall. We got an incident on the front straightaway. We got a car almost upside down. Yellow flies just a few laps in. We lost basically the last half of the grid.
Yeah, big wreck then down the rear part of your field. Demerit, last year's winner, is involved, and he is out. Michael Chin is out of this event. Here's get a replay then. Let's show you what happened. It was a big incident. That's what you often happen at the rear part of the field. Going to ride this one first of all on board on Michael Chin. Exit of turn number 4. Towards start finish line. There you can see the smoke. There you can see the slowing down. Everyone trying to check up. And Chin just runs into rear one of the Saudi cars then. There's not a lot you can do in those situations if you come back from 10 seconds back, because you slow it down as much as you possibly can. But the big news here is the fact that the driver of Christopher Demerit looks as though he is out right now, Randy.
That's the big talking point. That guarantees that we get a new winner and continue on their tradition. Demerit was the only driver on the grid who had won an iRacing Indianapolis 500 top split broadcasted race in the past, and he is now out of it. One driver I can't believe made it through that is actually the one of Josh Chin. He kind of had to thread a couple needles to get through there, but early caution here. The field is taking its sweet time to catch back up to the pace car.
Yeah, let's try and get ourselves one more look. I want to try and get one from the gearbox then of Budweiser. He was just ahead of all of this. So we should see, there we are. It was one of the Apex Racing UK machines, and you see drama around him. I believe that I'm trying to work out which one of those Apex Racing UK drivers it actually was there, Randy.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out as well. I haven't really seen what caused the incident. I just saw that there was a big pileup. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, this car, one of the things this car sucks up so well, coming off of turn 4, Budweiser started going to the outside. Jamie Fluke was making a move to the outside. By the time Budweiser had time to react, Jamie was already there. They touched, put Jamie into the wall, bent the suspension, and the pinball effect down the front straightaway happened, taking out a good about quarter, or if not third, of this field.
Yeah, let's have a look then on board with Jamie Fluke. Here is a driver that started that chain reaction through no real fault of his own. Let's listen in. Ooh, that's harsh. And there's nothing there that Jamie Fluke could have done.
No, once you're committed to making that pass on the outside, you're there. And by the time that the other car has a chance to realize that as they do their natural line, you're already there and contact is made. So in previous races with this car in the past 10 weeks, this is a common occurrence now that drivers are going to have to get used to, that the runs are bigger, and if somebody is making that move, slamming the door is often going to result in a very big mess and high disappointment for so many drivers.
Yeah. Of course, don't forget there are 2 races going on at the same time here today. We've also got ourselves the VRS GT World Championship. Let's check in very quickly with Jake Sperry, Jack Stiles, and Connery Manick.
Back through, so clearly unable to do anything. Makes it back on Nicholas Laubish and holds on for the moment. But crucially, though, in terms of the battle for the race lead, Jack, there's Matt Backham. And there's Matt Backham, who has had to go through Feigl, Alatalo and Blasco, so has made a position. Next up, though, is the Talens, Hansen, Pauli, Laubish, Schmalenbach train.
And well, this is going to be the time to keep an eye, because Maximilian Benecke has just brought that number 72 machine down onto the lane. 35 laps completed for Max. We will see whether he stays in or whether he is going to jump out of the PRT red car, let someone else have a go. So Mac Backham, he is going to be currently coming down to the Dunlop Kedder for the 105th time, and Maximilian Benecke is going to be coming to a stop now. He's going to be...
Well, that's what we can see in the VRS GT World Championship, but it's Rick Music who leads the way then. Your top 8 coming back to the restart. Music, Walters, Watkins, Cook, Steele, Constantini, Miller, and Marcus Jensen. Pace car on towards pit road. Let's go green again here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Green flag back in that air one more time. First caution of the day is done. Music will bring the field then down towards turn number 1 for the second time here today. And that field, it does look as though it's a little bit more spread out right now as they head themselves through turn number 2 onto the back straightaway there, Aaron.
We are back to green. Bradley Walters going to the inside. We are going to have a lead change down the back straightaway, and Rick Music may get the first to third experience. Nope, he's going to not go back, but he will be relegated to P2. Bradley Walters retakes the lead down the back.
Yeah, in towards turn number 4 they come. Tanner Watkins had a good run down the back straightaway. Let's have a look, see what can happen as they come through. The first 15 laps of a run will have a lot of pack racing. After 15 laps, the tyres drop off. It's almost back to pre-2012 style racing, Randy.
Definitely is. As Tanner J. Watkins going to take that second spot here as the tires are going to begin to wear in. One thing to keep in mind, number of cars in the back of the field came down pit road and topped up on fuel and took new tires. Those drivers will be more aggressive here as these guys continue to work their way through turns number 3 and 4. I believe got one car with damage sort of shuffled into the midst of this pack. Nope, I was wrong about that one. But Matt Cook continues to lead from Mikhail Constantini. Christian Steele also duking it out here as well as Tanner J. Watkins is trying to make moves and get himself the race lead.
Yeah, as there's Kevin Ellis Jr. battling also right now with Martin Miller. Battle for P number 7 on track. And it's going to be Kevin Ellis Jr. that moves out. But Tanner Watkins now leads to 500. It's early days, of course, here, Aaron. Only lap number 8 of 200. And now if you're Rick Music, you lost the race lead. Do you go for the race lead again? Well, you're saying, yeah, I want to lead from the front.
And going to be interesting. Sometimes you don't want to lead. As soon as the pack strings out, at this point in the race, I'd rather run P2. You can save more fuel in the draft, go further down on the fuel map. As we're going to go 3. Well, if this were 10 to go, I think we would have gone 3 wide down the front. But another lead change, and I don't know what the record is, Will, but right now, they're on pace to maybe break it.
Yeah, as we're having a look then at Rick Music, that battle going on out front. Behind, you have got an amazing set of battles going on board with Andrew Kinsella right now. Now, the Sim Racing Observer, Andy, said that Kinsella is going to win this race if you name Shakespeare. And well, he has been very good, not only in this at this track, but in this car in 2018. But he had horrible luck. Well, he was involved in the issue, so we say, on lap number 187 of the last race before this. And when you have an incident and you then have to run the mid-pack again, it will change your emotions a little bit.
It will just a little bit. It'll affect the way you think. It'll affect the way you approach this race. And right now, Kinsilla's doing a good job. He's just latched himself onto the back of the lead pack, currently running 12. So it's just 12 cars, all separated by 1.4 seconds on the racetrack right now in that lead group. And he's just sort of hanging out back there. Him and a lot of his Power Slide teammates are doing the same. You got Jeff Drake, Adam Blocker, Martin Miller in this lead pack on likes of Cook and Steele, who are closer up to the front. But on the one hand, it's going to make you be aggressive and say, you know what, I don't want to mess up this one. But at the same time, it may make you get passive and not make an unforced error like the way you did late in the last race.
Yeah. If you want live timing and scoring, it's a different address than normal. It's RaceSpot.tv/live. If you go to our standard address, you'll get a completely different race as we've got a side-by-side going on. Tanner Watkins, Root Music, going side-by-side in towards turn number 3. And Tanner Watkins will have the advantage for the time being then, Aaron, as he works himself in the Absolute Zero Power Slide car outer turn of the 4 towards the yard of bricks, complete lap number 11.
Top 4 start, pull away just a little bit from the rest of the field. Right now it seems up front, though, that it is a battle of leapfrogging. Could be a little bit of strategy, could be just wanting that clean air. As these tires fall off, I think whoever is in the lead is going to be able to pull away, so maybe that's why we're seeing such a hard battle up front. One thing further back in the lead group, we have seen some outside passes. Outside passes and Indy don't typically go together, but sometimes you got to go where the car is not to avoid the aero push, and right now that outside's working. As the run progresses, though, and the marbles build up, don't expect the outside to be friendly.
No, and there's going to require people, Aaron, to have to run that high line to make that high line work later on, because if everyone just holds the bottom, when you need to run the outside later on in this event, you'll basically be in a catch-22 situation.
And with the racing at Indy, so easy to get yourself in trouble. You have to predict as you turn into the corner where the trajectory of your car is going to go. So before the car even reacts, you've got to know that it's going to be tracking out. And if you wait just a tenth of a second too long, all the brakes and all the lifting off in the world not going to help you, as a car just got loose off of turn 4. So that was, let's see, that was, looked like Henry Bennett perhaps, but the tires are starting to go as we are now on lap 14 and expect the slipping and sliding, which we haven't said this yet, new car, less downforce. So as Randy mentioned in qualifying, a lot more sliding, so to speak, than we saw in years past.
Yeah, we need to take a very quick commercial break here, ladies and gentlemen. You will see the screen go black for about 10 seconds, but we'll be back as soon as we possibly can. You're watching RaceSpotTV on iRacing Live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We do apologize for that. We did just have to get a couple of technical issues sorted out, but we are now 1/10 of the way through this, the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500, and here are your top 8 as it stands right now. Tanner Watkins leading the way by almost 9 tenths of a second over Rick Music. Bradley Walters in 3rd, Michele Constantini in 4th, Christian Steele in 5th, then Blocker, SPT, Cook, Kinsella, and Ellis Jr. round at your top 10. And what, Aaron? This is that stage of the race. The tyres start falling off a little bit. Tanner Watkins has broken the drive to Rick Music. Many people at this point will say, okay, that's going to harm Rick Music. No, it's not. It's going to help Rick Music.
Yeah, about 7 tenths of a second, and that's about the wall. If you're within 4 tenths of a second, you can hang, but it seems about that 7 tenths to 9 tenths of a second back, the turbulence gets a little bit worse, but that's okay. Right now, he's going to be able to save just a little bit more fuel. And think back 2 years ago to this race, Will. It was almost an identical precursor to what we saw in the 100th running of the Indy 500 with Rossi. It is never too early to start thinking about fuel. And during the break, Randy mentioned the cars that pitted under that first yellow. They're able to do 5 laps more, which if we start running the math, we'll be able to do 1 stop less. All it takes is 1 lap to save that last pit stop. So you can be 20 seconds behind, but if you can avoid that stop, you can sneak yourself into victory lane.
Yeah, and also, Randy, in the short term, what that will do is it'll enable these drivers that did pit early to carve themselves through the field as other drivers hit the cliff in terms of the tyres.
Yeah, and Josh Chin right now is sort of the example of that. He's the first car that's made a trip down pit road right now. He currently cycles 15th out there on the racetrack. He started 26th. He picked up about 2 or 3 spots when that incident happened in front of him. He managed to drive his way through it, but he's been making short work of multiple drivers, seeing made passes under green flag conditions and run away from the likes of John Hadjic Doggett, AJ Burton, Liam Quinn, Chad Simpson the last handful of laps, and now he's working on Marcus Jensen as they head through turn 2. Marcus does an aggressive job taking the line, though. He's going to stay behind him down this back straightaway, but Josh is doing his best to try to work his way forward. So short term, they'll have better tires throughout this first stint, and they'll likely be able to come down pit road, as Aaron said, about 5 to 6 laps later.
Yeah, as right now we're just having a look at Chin. He's behind Marcus Jensen. Tanner Watkins, though, continues to lead, and he's built up in the last couple of laps. He's doubled that advantage, Aaron. It's now up to 1.5 seconds in that battle for the race lead. Here's a look at the lap times, and you can just see that Watkins has been booming recently.
Yeah, this is why we saw the leapfrog battle early instead of, just cruising. If you are in that dirty air, the tires are having to work harder to maintain the same level amounts of grip. You abuse that right front a little bit more, having to put a little bit more steering input, which means you're going to get a little bit more tire wear. So you want to be the car up front to make the people on back make their cars work harder. And as they do, they're going to fall off a little bit faster, which right now Watkins, the lead was 1.5 this time across the line. Rick Music closes in just a little bit, so maybe Music has found that sweet balance now of working the in-car tools, which, well, it's that customary time of the year, the in-car tools.
Yep, here we go. So these drivers have in-car tools that they can use to change the balance of the race car throughout a run. They have themselves the anti-roll bars to the front and to the rear, as well as a weight jacket that basically moves the right rear of the car up, which will either loosen or tighten the car up. I need to say at this point, by the way, goodbye ESPN and ABC. This is the last time they'll be doing the Indianapolis 500 for a while. 2019, NBC come into play, Aaron.
Yeah, IndyCar, well, the Indy 500 and ABC, the longest running continual sports contract, same broadcaster. Don't really know if ESPN's heart has been in it the past 3 years compared to the NBC broadcast. A lot of people have mentioned just how much pageantry NBC does with the Kentucky Derby. So making a horse race a big spectacle. What are they going to be able to do with the world's largest single-day sporting event next season?
Yeah.
Going to be interesting to see.
We have to, of course, say, though, thank you to ESPN for all those years, as Kevin Ellis Jr. is on pit road, 27 of 200 laps scored complete. And, of course, the 102nd running of the Indianapolis 500 will be on ABC, and that will be at a start time of 11 a.m. Eastern Time on ABC in the United States. In the United Kingdom, that will be on BT Sport BT Sport ESPN, I believe. Kevin Ellis Jr. doing a pit stop then, out and away in 8.4 seconds for him.
I think all the Apex cars came down.
They came in early there, Randy, and that's a strategy thing in my opinion. I think they are thinking there's going to be a caution around lap number 20.
I think they might be thinking that it's going to be a bit of a strategy thing. Maybe they started the race a little bit light on fuel, or maybe they're just thinking tires, because we know that you can run a full kind of standardized fuel stint on these fuel tanks. We saw that in the Indy Elite Indy 500 a few weeks ago, Will. The fact that you can go 31, 32, 33 laps on a tank of fuel in these cars. So these guys coming down on lap number 27, especially considering that there were yellows in play during that tells me that they started the race a little bit light, trying to keep track position early. But I don't know, I don't like that strategy call whatsoever for a 500-mile race. You don't win this in the first 30 laps. You win it in the last 30. The Vortex cars coming down on towards pit road, that's Mikel Constantini, and that's such thing as well, because Apex has a technical alliance with Vortex this season for this 500. That tells me that all of those guys, likes of Apex, likes of the Vortex schemed cars you'll see on screen, likely all using the same logic of either starting a little bit light or just flat out wanting newer, fresher tires early.
Yep, so Michele Constantini comes in then to make a pit stop. There's one thing I absolutely hate here, Randy, and that is the fact that these guys just flick their gears, try and get themselves that 0.5 mile an hour advantage. Yeah, it does make a difference over the course of a 500-mile race, but it's so annoying when you're on board of them.
Yeah, it certainly is, but believe me, it's annoying for a driver as well. I'm not sure why the sim's like that, why all the limiters are about 1 mile per hour off speed, but hopefully that's something that can get fixed in the future so we don't have to see that, as Mikel is going to come off pit road right in front of your race leaders, and he's very close to getting a lap down. I think Watkins, if he has the draft, might be able to put Michele Constantini a lap down.
And he's going to do so then. So this is a heartbreak for the moment for Michele Constantini. You only pit early, Aaron, if you know that you can get back on track in front of your leaders. It is possible to do so if you normally run inside your top 10, but you've got to have a little bit of luck. And Constantini, well, he now has to basically hope for a caution, because otherwise he's going to have to race these two guys, and that always creates some issues.
Well, Kevin Ellis Jr. just got his lap back the old-fashioned way. No lucky dog, no wave around. He did it on track. Constantini's going to look to the inside. He's going to get a tow from Ellis Jr., who comes down to sort of help pull him along. And, yeah, nothing like getting your lap the old-fashioned way. But going back to pit stops, if you're going to pit, you want to come out in clean air. Because if you come out in traffic, that negates the purpose. You're now going to be cooking your tires, and the advantage is gone.
Yeah.
But right now, Watkins going to come into the pits.
Yeah, and also one thing worth noting, Randy, the fact the tyres are so much better in the first 5 laps of a run means that if you are in that situation, unlike in previous years, you can get your lap back, as Aaron calls it, the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, that is the big thing, as we're going to see Rick Music come down towards pit road, and some others cycle through as well. Adam Blocker, Andrew Kinsella, Martin Miller yet to come down pit road, and I think that's pretty much it. Matt Cook and Jeff Drake, they still stay out there as well. What's interesting to me, Will, is Joshua Chin. He's done a fantastic job running through this field. He currently runs 4th, and while he's came down pit road early, there's drivers behind him who have yet to pit that were in the top 5 early that he's leapfrogged because of the new tires. You look at Matt Cook, Jeff Drake, Liam Quinn, those 3 drivers behind, all working in the same technical alliance as well as Power Slide, Banshee, Aero. We need to come up with a name to call that group. We'll call them Team Afterburn, I think, just for the entirety of the race. But Josh Chin, he's basically just sprinting away from those guys. He's lashed onto the back of Martin Miller, about 4 seconds off your race leader.
Yeah, on board of Michael Chin, Joshua Chin even. There's 2 Chins in this race. Go ahead, Aaron.
Running the math on the pits, our leader came in on lap 32. Looking at the strategy, not that high, the odds of us going caution-free, not that high, but should we? And they pit where they are pitting, as Kinsella now is going to come into the pits, but you pit every 32 to 33 laps. Your final pit stop is going to have to be on lap 198, so these drivers are going to have to find 2 laps, whereas the drivers that pitted on that first yellow, well, they're going to run out of fuel on lap 203, 204, so that right now is a dynamic in play. Should everybody behave, Joshua Chin could be sitting pretty.
Yep, as you have a look on board again with Joshua Chin, that is your race leader, Martin Miller, just ahead. Chin just tagged himself off the noisy pedal as he walked himself through turn number 3 in towards turn number 4. Got a lot of people asking some random questions here. So why is it 500? because it's 500 miles. So there's your simple answer. Martin Miller on towards pit road. Let's have a look actually on board then with Martin Miller as he comes on towards pit road to make his first pit stop of the day right now. As do you have to run the full access road? Yes, you do. You can, in terms of our rules here, basically move up the track in the short shoot between turns number 1 and 2, but you must run the access road through turn number 2. Martin Miller, a repeat of years previous, Randy, overshoots his pit stall.
Just an easy little mistake that we've seen Martin Miller historically make in the past. It's not going to cost him too much. He's going to come out with the same group that he came down pit road with, but he may have had to underfill the car a little bit to make up for that, as he's going to lead him through corners number 1 and 2 on the short shoot. You see traffic cycling through on the left-hand side, or excuse me, on the right, on driver's right, as they're now going to work their way through. Driver that still owes pit stops, Josh Chin, of course, he pit early. Liam Quinn's come down pit road a couple times, so everyone's come down pit road. Now we're dealing with those guys who came down at that caution about 20 some odd, actually closer to about 30 some odd laps ago. They're likely reaching the end of their first stints as well, because that was an early caution we got, so they will be able to go a couple of extra laps here, and I like this strategy. What I don't like is all those drivers. Josh Chin actually comes down pit road a little bit early, I think, considering when he came down pit road, but he wouldn't have had a lot of fuel in the car regardless. I don't understand those drivers that came down pit road so early, lap 27, lap 28. I don't like that fuel strategy at all. That's basically doing an extra 2 pit stops, I think, over the course of this race. I think that's a really, really bad call by those Vortex and Apex drivers that we saw them come down that early.
Well, the bigger thing is, Aaron, is it basically means that you lose the flexibility in terms of a late run caution or an early run caution. Simple as that.
Trying to figure out their strategy. I think if their tires were so bad that they were losing a quarter second a lap, it makes sense betting on the fact that at some point in time we are going to get a yellow. We get a yellow, they're going to be on the same strategy. So if they were losing a quarter second, maybe their cars were trimmed out for more speed and they ran in dirty air a lot, burned up the right front tires, and we're losing a quarter second, 0.3 of a second a lap, then yeah, pitting early is going to get you back on the same pace. Where, you know, losing a second, let's say what Scott Goodyear says every year, a second here is a football field a second. So 3 laps running 0.3 of a second slower, you've lost the football field. So that's the only logic I see of why you would want to pit early here.
Well, here's the other thing, just looking at Tanner J. Watkins, because Tanner came down a couple of laps later when you normally expect to see someone come down pit road. His in lap was lap number 31, so he pit 2 laps later, and Tanner Watkins has the race lead. So right now for Mikhail Constantini and Kevin Ellis Jr. and all those Apex cars we saw him come down pit road early, they didn't gain any track position at all, and in fact they've lost it.
Yeah, and also it's worth noting the fact that Tanner Watkins has a 1.7 second advantage right now over Austin Espartee as well. So it seems to be, although Espartee is closing up here, Aaron, in terms of him battling out Tanner Watkins.
Yeah, Espartee's another one of those drivers, just tenacious. Started P20 up to second in the race, and that being so, he might need a little help with a yellow to get up there, but it's going to be a long race, and at some point in time we may have to start talking about lap traffic. And if that's the case, if Watkins is trimmed out for pure speed, if he gets into lap traffic, that could allow Espartee, Constantini, and Blocker to come into play.
Yeah, don't forget there are 2 races going on here today on iRacing Live. 2 huge races. This, and of course, the 4th round of the VRS GT World Championship. Let's check in with those boys for a couple of moments here on RaceSpotTV.
And ultimately it is going to fall away from them just past the halfway stage, looking towards 4 hours in this event. That is a big, big hurt. And arguably, Jack, they deserved that one because they drove a strategy from 24th on the grid that really put the cat amongst the pigeons. And it is upsetting the way that event has gone for them, out of their control, but that is sim racing.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to pull the luck. Oh, you just get bad luck sometimes, and William Levesque just sounds like he wasn't having the greatest of day. Next Racing Yellow did an awesome job on their strategy to get them up into the top 10 in that BMW Z4, and well, their day is done. Looks as though there isn't actually a driver in that car at the moment, whether they're just waiting to have a decision on whether they will pack in the race or whether they will carry on. Looked like they were going to get a good points haul from here today at the Nürburgring, but not to be.
One of the most iconic racetracks in all of Europe, the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife. They're running the Strecke circuit, so it is the newer Nürburgring, Randy. But compare that in terms of historic racetracks. Spa, Monza, Monaco, Indianapolis, Daytona. They're your top 5, really. And Le Mans, of course.
Don't forget the Berlin Formula E circuit.
Yeah, we saw that early on. That was entertaining to watch.
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining to watch. I'm a big fan of Formula E, actually. It puts on a good show, but got to be a bigger fan of this race right now.
Hey, it's coming to Birmingham as well next year.
Hey, that's still thousands of miles away from me. So, but right now, the close fight on track is between Adam Blocker and Mikel Constantini. Seems to be no love lost between these two, as they're going to stay side by side down this front straightaway. Mikel was a little bit aggressive blocking and holding the line coming off of turn 4. Blocker's going to try to look to the outside in turn 1. You can make this move stick, and he's going to do it. The Vortex cars seem to be really struggling, Will, with that early pit stop. I don't know if it's them. It doesn't seem like they took on a short fill. With them having the older tires now, is losing them spots. You look at this lead group, this sort of lead 5-car pack. Mikel Constantini, Kevin Ellis Jr., Vortex, and Apex that we know are working together for this race. They are falling to the tail end of this lead pack.
Yeah, that's really interesting in terms of strategy. And this is the whole thing here, Aaron, because you do get technical alliances with sometimes enemies become friends for 1 month of the year. But when you get to the actual race after you qualify, it's like, okay, now what?
Now what, indeed. Blocker, though, he was about a second behind Espati going down the front straightaway, and now he's knocking on Espati's back door, so Blocker may have a lot better tire wears. We're going to have a change for P2, so Blocker's
he pit 3 laps later than Espati.
So there you go. That's another thing to look forward to. 3 laps later, that is quite a bit different. Leads up to 2 seconds, but going back to that, friends can quickly become enemies in the garage or on track. Right now, Espati and Blocker may try the leapfrog strategy to try to get up to Watkins, which that lap they shaved about 0.2 of a second. So guys, can this leapfrog, if they can time it right, can they catch up?
Yeah, well, they have lost time on laps number 100, not 100, lap number 42, lap number 43. Gain time on lap number 44, though, Randy. And it does require 2 people to be in some form of harmony to make this leapfrog strategy work. Tanner Watkins right now is out there by himself. He's holding a 1.2 advantage. And in terms of your top 8 as it stands right now, it's very interesting to kind of comprehend. Watkins is leading. Then you've got Espati and Blocker going side by side in towards turn number 1. Michele Constantini is 1.5 seconds back from that. He's in a battle with Kevin Ellis Jr. Then you've got Andrew Kinsella. He's slowly worked himself up to number 6. Then Liam Quinn, then Joshua Chin, then Bradley Walters. He fell back big time during that first run of pit stops. And then you've got yourself Bradley Walters and Henry Bennett. They're scrapping for the last 2 positions into your top 10.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting names, and one driver that I'm really interested in, and I know that this is another driver that Mr. Jake Sperry is looking at, Rick Music. Outside of your front row, our front row cars have fallen 9th and 12th. So Rick Music, the Sadie cars, I know that they also went with a bit of an early pit stop strategy as well. Coming down pit road early just seemed to not work out for anybody, Will. And, you know, I know for me in terms of in the long term, I'm a big fan of going late. We saw this in the Indy Elite 500 when Tanner Watkins, I think, was in command of that race and in position to win. The only reason he did it was because he pit a couple of laps later on the first pit stop and then proceeded to do that through the entire time. So we would go 2 laps longer, 4 laps. What's up?
I just saw that. We're just going to get a replay of this. And this is Rick Music in towards turn number 1. Just look at this steering angle from him. As he comes into the corner, you know, little turn, big turn of that wheel to the left. He had to check up big time. And he's only 15. He's 15 laps into a stint. Yeah, he gets 15 laps into a stint. And he gets ultra tight. One thing also worth noting, Saudi Grande Bianco, they are kind of like the Toro Rosso of the main Saudi team. I had a message actually to talk about this one. Of course, they have themselves a shark as a logo, but the Saudi team, they've really exploded, in my opinion, onto the iRacing scene in the last couple of years, and I absolutely love their livery. It's a bit like, in my opinion, a better version of the Orion Race Team logo.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love that light blue with the white. In fact, teammate Jamie Wilson has been trying to work a bit of a rebranding for our team, and he came up with a very similar shade of blue, painted Josh up a car, and then Jamie, who wasn't overly familiar with the IndyCar scheme, the IndyCar scene, rather, he watched the very first league race that Josh did with that car, and Sadie was in there with basically the exact same shade of blue. But I love that coloration. I love the colors they work, and it's very flexible as well, because you look at some drivers like Rick Music, the way that his side pods look compared to teammate Bradley Walters, who have an all-blue side pod. It's a very flexible paint scheme, and I just love the way the colors work inside of the sim.
Yeah, and Aaron, we are 49 laps into this event. 1 caution so far. Most people have made green flag pit stops once. This is the iRacing Indy 500 that you and I have talked about so many times over the years. We do expect long green flag runs in this event. Of course, we've got, 3 cautions is the lowest you've ever had in the iRacing Indy 500 that we broadcasted. A time, we actually beat the fastest time ever for an IndyCar Indy 500. I think that was back in 2015, I think.
Sounds about right, but I have an answer to my previous question on if leapfrogging will work. The lead is under a second, and I've been looking at trap speeds entering turn 1. Our leader, Watkins, enters turn 1 at about 227. Each time they leapfrog Espati and Blocker, they're doing 230, which Blocker is now in our leader's draft. So, guys, it's game on for the lead.
Yeah, and Espati is also now within a second of your race leader in that team talent car. Kevin Ellis Jr. is still 2 seconds behind this one, but we have now got ourselves a fantastic little scrap in terms of your top 3 in this motor race. And, well, we like that. We've got 3 different teams here. Tanner Watkins, Adam Blocker, and Austin Espati. They are all going at it here. And this is the month of May really making itself proud, the diversity of the Verizon IndyCar Series drivers that take part in the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series week in, week out. And, well, Aaron, many people say for 51 weeks of the year, they are sometimes ignored. Yes, you have them Friday night primetime this season, but for the most time, they're a community that they like to call the ginger-haired child. And yeah, maybe a ginger-haired child got himself married today to an American, but still, this is that 1 week of a year when everyone focuses on Indy.
Yeah, just like the real motorsports world, unfortunately. Most diverse racing series in the world. Perhaps, for those of us that follow IndyCar, we highly respect the drivers and what they can do, but I think a lot of the drivers in the field get maybe a little not as respected as much, doing 230 miles an hour into turn 1. In the draft, perhaps 240 miles an hour. It takes a different breed to do that. Same thing here, the reflexes required, the attention. It just takes a split second of a lapse of concentration to have your race end, and we missed it. But one of, I would consider our favorites, Christian Steele, now 24 laps ago, hit the wall in turn 3 and knocked himself out of the race. It just takes a split second to be looking at your wheel, be looking at a gauge, do a fuel calculation, and be out. As Blocker thought about going to the inside, going into turn 1, thought better of it. And, well, right now, do you take the lead if you're Blocker, or do you save fuel?
Let's keep an eye out on the driver that Jake Sparrow from the Sim Racing Observer says will win this event. Andrew Consider, Absolute Zero Power Slide number 26 machine. That car pushing up high a little bit there in turn number 2 after he got passed by Josh Chin. And I know a lot of these drivers here, Randy, they either are good in traffic or they are absolutely miserable in traffic. And it's not a case of finding a balance. It's going one way or the other this year.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, that's what it is. You're either fighting tight or you're fighting loose, and you're constantly fighting that with the weight jacker and the anti-roll bars inside of the car, potentially even using aero adjustments. But the big thing, as Liam Quinn and Josh Chin are going to be leapfrogging in their own little pack, is that in terms of aerodynamics, Will, you're in a little bit more of a box than you were last year. You don't have as much to play with. In years past on the older cars, it was the rear wing that really was sort of the big aerodynamic changer. You'd adjust the rear wing, and that would really affect your aero aero balance, you'd have to adjust the front wing in order to compensate. It's now different. You move that front wing in the garage, the aero calculator on the front balance changes massively, and we've heard Sebastian Bourdais talk about this. Some of the interviews he's done with Racer Magazine is you're almost tuning the car with the front wing and then adjusting the rear wing to balance it out, which is the exact opposite of what you had to do in years past, and that's going to make things really tricky in terms of setting up the car and adjusting the car on pit road for some of the aerodynamic changes you might make later on in the race, in particular when you might want to be trimming that car out really, really deep into this thing to be quick down these straightaways as you typically and traditionally want to be doing at this place.
One thing worth talking about here as well, Aaron, sorry to cut you off, is the fact that not next year, in 2021, they're moving from 2.2 to 2.4 litre turbos here. In terms of the Verizon IndyCar series. Of course, Verizon, this is their last year sponsoring this series. We've got to say one thing before we go any further here, Aaron. I am so glad of all the work that Verizon did in promoting this series, and I'm really hoping that either Verizon have a change of heart or IndyCar get a sponsor of that caliber, because it really did help that series.
Yeah, not to play the rumor mill, but with the new NBC contract, with the attendance at Long Beach, I think, had their biggest modern record. You look at what Gateway did last year, there is definitely momentum within the IndyCar camp. And I did hear Verizon read a rumor, I think on Racer.com, that Verizon might reconsider. I think in terms of the technology, the two go together. Whoever takes it, though, IndyCar needs that promoter. And look at Gateway last year. That race, that event was something special. Especially, I live in St. Louis. This is not the biggest motorsport town, but to have a near capacity crowd at Gateway. When you look
any
back
over outside of Indianapolis, let's be honest.
It's true, absolutely. So hopefully they can do that again this year, and that shows what a good promoter can do. And you just don't want a title sponsor. You want a sponsor that's going to help promote and have a passion for the sport.
Let's talk about some of the retirees from this race here today. We have got ourselves John Haddock-Duggar out of the event. We've got a driver coming towards pit road. That is the driver of AJ Burton of Logical Vortex Sim Racing. They're pitting again. So this is again the second now green flag run here, Randy, for the groups that basically didn't come in at the start of the motor race.
Well, it's not just that. It's the groups that pit early in that first group, and this time it was about a 31 to 32 lap run. So I just don't get it from the Vortex and Apex guys. The very first run, they do something like 25, 26 laps, all come down pit road, and then the second one, they show they have the fuel economy to go 31 to 32 laps. In my opinion, in the opening 30 laps of the race, the Vortex group that has been deemed as one of the dominant teams, one of the super teams this week, have just put all of their members in a box and put themselves on the wrong foot on strategy. I don't get it. Terrible call by the entire group.
Yeah, just to let you know, by the way, Christian Steele is out, Budweiser out, John Haddock-Duggar is out, Andrew Wood, Randy Crosno, Christopher Demerit, last year's winner, Sam Bozick, Gordon Newdrugs, and Jamie Fluke is out. What that does mean here in this event, Aaron, is that we are going to continue a tradition. As we head ourselves to the 10th annual iRacing Indy 500, there will never be a two-time winner of this event. And that's important because I think about Rick Mears. I think about the fact that he had to bust his derriere to get himself those 4 wins. If we look at the likes of Elia Castroneves, he has come second so many times in this event. Dan Weldon came second so many times in this event, but second means nothing at the end of 500 miles.
Yeah, you finish second at, say, Phoenix, Gateway, Sonoma. The driver will say, yeah, great points race, this, as our race leader is going to come into the pits, Tanner Watkins, get that magical 59, make it 60 miles an hour, but second at Indy is about the worst thing you can taste. Just ask Scott Goodyear in 92 or Marco Andretti in 2006.
Or J.F. Hildebrand.
Worst second place, perhaps, in history. That's he'll never live down, but second place here means nothing. That means you were the
Elio
closest to
only won
becoming immortal.
twice on YouTube.
I
I'm
was
sorry.
about to reply to that. This is no place for politics.
Yeah, I mean, let's go. We know about Paul Tracy. We know about all that stuff. But hey, the wins happen. The lawsuit was defended. Let's move on, people. It's time to move on. I think even Paul Tracy's moved on at this point as we go on board with Liam Quinn right now. He is currently 0.3 of a second behind Josh Chin, but Adam Blocker is 7 seconds ahead of these two guys right now. As of course, other guys are coming on towards pit road. Here is Rick Music then in the Saudi Grande Bianco car. And well, Saudi, in my opinion, Randy, if the race goes like this, they've got a chance at the victory.
I don't know. I don't know how. Because
they're better than clean air. Simple answer.
But are they though?
Yes.
They've never had in the track position. I don't know.
They
I don't
struggle.
think so.
I've seen them all weekend, and they've been struggling when they've been running in a pack more than when been running in clean air. Of course, it's a beautiful livery on that car. As someone just screamed, and it wasn't even me for once. But Rick Music comes back out on track in the number 18 car. Maybe that is why there, Aaron, because the fact it's an 18 machine. But here comes on the track again, Rick Music, and he's going to be passed by 2 cars. That is Jeff Drake and AJ Burton just ahead of him now.
And these drivers that are going, we are on lap 63, so but we're going to be looking at stops at around lap 194 to 198. These crew chiefs need to start telling these drivers, you need to save 1 lap a run. You make it 1 lap a run, and you're going to run out coming out of turn 4. And, if everybody else is pitted and you have a 20-second lead, that's good enough. Which, going back to those early pit stops, they don't have a chance. You can't save 3 laps a run, which is what our drivers that have stopped earlier are going to have to somehow manage to do if we go green the rest of the way.
Andrew Kinsella pits in 10.3 seconds. Out and away he will go in that absolute power slide machine. Adam Blocker continues to lead the way, but he's now on towards pit road, Randy.
Yeah, and that's going to give that number 1 a Josh Chin the race lead, and I believe he'll be the only car that stays out. Let's see, Mark Miller. Nope, he's going to come down pit road. So Josh Chin seems to be in a relatively good situation right now, considering when he ended up stopping. His last green flag stop came on lap number 35, I believe. No, 36. 36 was his in lap, and he's currently cycling himself out there right now. So he can go for about a few more laps before he ends up opting to come down pit road. So if it goes green, that number 1 car, he might be in for one. And how many times have we seen Josh Chin in this race put himself in good positions, Will, and have heartbreak form up? He's going to opt to come down pit lane a little bit early, though. Oh. So Josh Chin doing something interesting here. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of this call.
No, and also he's very close to the speed limit there as well, Aaron.
Yeah, I got to 60 miles an hour right at the cone, but coming in now...
contact on pit road. Matt Cook's around and stopped on pit lane.
Oh, Matt Cook. Banciolo Sports' issues continues at this event. So let's get ourselves a replay of this one from Matt Cook. And let's show you what happened. Yeah, he did. No, he lost it by himself. He was just on board with Chad Simpson there. And Cook lost it all by himself.
It looks like he might have accidentally triggered the pit road speed limiter after he already triggered it, because the car went up to 80 miles an hour after the cones. So I think he might have accidentally clicked the pit road speed limiter once he was on pit lane. Realized, at Indy, you don't want to beat yourself, and Matt Cook right there just beat himself.
Pace car. Yeah, we're just going to be with you in just 1 moment's time. Apologies for this one. What we're looking for is this. So we're just having a quick issue here. We're trying to get ourselves our camera back. Camera back even here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So just bear with us 1 moment as we sort that one out here. But Randy, for Matt Cook, that's not the first time he's had that heartbreak here.
No, it's not. We've seen that, like you said, from the Banshee group. We've seen that in the past. Just rookie mistakes tends to end up hurting them some way or some another, and that's a rookie mistake from a driver like Matt Cook. You know that this is a race he would have wanted to come in and win. He was one of the quickest in qualifying. This is a race he may have been in a position to potentially dominate, and just that one little mistake ends a month's worth of work right then and there.
What you
here's
need
the question,
to do,
guys.
So, you go.
Let's take a look at what happened behind him. Chad Simpson was coming in really, really fast. So there is a chance Cook thought, okay, I need to speed up or I'm going to be hit from behind. And then he sped up and tried to get back down. Matt Cook, experienced driver. I wouldn't necessarily expect that type of maneuver, but, you know, taking a 5 to 10 second pit road speed penalty is better than being taken out of the race. So maybe he was reacting to Chad Simpson, who looked like he was coming in a little too fast. So Cook might have sped up. Don't know.
Yeah, let's be having a look then on board with Adam Blocker right now. Blocker in P number 2 behind Tanner Watkins. And well, RaceSpot.tv/live if you want live timing and scoring. Lap number 70 of 200. Getting close then to 1/3 distance of this event. We have just passed that one. As for Matt Cook, it's not the end of the world here. Talk about him a little bit more because he's currently in P number 19, but he is still on the lead lap, and that is so important, Aaron, in terms of keeping yourself in the shot. And I remember back in 2011, Monica Clara Brand got herself a black flag, dropped a lap down, that basically ruined her chance of winning the Indy 500 when she was the fastest driver on track.
Yeah, I think about Matt Cook, and if we go back 3 years ago to the 16th Street League, a race at New Hampshire, Cook made a pit road mistake, came back and won that race. He and Joshua Chin, in perhaps one of the best points battle we've seen in any series. Some great racing there, but he's only 2/10 off the pace, so I don't think it damaged the car. It was pretty square on that wing, so replace the wing, he's going to be okay. Although he is going to need a yellow, which right now the flagman looks pretty bored up there in the stand. It's been pretty clean after that first yellow.
Yeah, apologies. We just heard word that light time was scoring. Just had a little bit of a fart. It's okay. It's back up right now. As we go on board with Joshua Chin, he is down in P number 6 right now, hunting down Liam Quinn for that top 5 position right now, Randy.
Yeah, they are. They've been swapping their position back and forth, and they've done a good job because they initially started this sort of tango about 40, 50 laps ago after sort of the pit stop sequence and whatnot. These guys were about 8 seconds off your leaders. Now they're inside of 7, and they're just doing a good job as this little duo. They're reeling them in at about, I'd say about the tune of about half a second or so per green flag run, and that's enough for them right now. The gap's down to 6.5 seconds now, excuse me, so 3/10 that last lap is what these two ended up reeling them in. So 40.4 for your leader of Tanner Watkins, 40.2 for Josh Chin, and a 2 for Liam Quinn. So these guys, they're just going to swap the lead back and forth. That's all that matters, and bring that lead gap down. I think they need a yellow to put themselves in a really good position, but I think they're going to end up reeling in that lead group here in about probably 1 to 2 stints time regardless.
Yeah, as we just have a look on board of Adam Blocker, he's got himself the race lead then away from Tanner Watkins. The gap is only about 3/10 of a second between P number 1 and P number 3 as we look from the rear of Adam Blocker. He's got himself that advantage, but well, 3 teammates there almost working themselves in close positions on track right now as we go on board with Austin Espartee in that number 6 machine then, Aaron.
Yeah, these 3 are going to have to start leapfrogging. I think that answers our question of why Chin pitted when he did. That was to come out and meet Liam Quinn, because the 2 of them do have the ability to reel in the leaders. It's going to take another run or 2, but if the spotters on the pit boxes for the top 3 see what's going on in P5, P6, this top 3 have got to start leapfrogging, trying to get speed as another 4/10 of a second comes off. Very rarely do we see people make
Might
up
happen sooner than we think.
Yeah, we're about 10 laps away from them getting into the leader's wake. So some interesting things. We saw Watkins have a huge lead get erased. Very rarely. I mean, IndyCar racing is a matter, we talk about hundredths of a second. To reel in 6 seconds, unheard of. But right now, Quinn and Chen could be doing the impossible.
Yeah, they do, in my opinion, need a caution. Only one caution I hear today, Randy, in what's been a weekend full of cautions in this event. And I think that these drivers have taken a different approach compared to the last 2 races that make up the 4 that make up the Indy 500 weekend on iRacing.
Yeah, the last couple races were a little bit issued, as now that gap between Quinn and Chin is under 6 seconds for the two of them. They're going to continue to swap spots, but very long green flag run here already. We saw an early caution. I think a lot of us were like, uh-oh, is this how it's going to be? But no, it's ended up panning out. What's interesting to me, Will, is that when I think of all the broadcasted 500-mile races we've done recently, and really in the past year, these races have all been clean. Think to the one a couple weeks ago, the Indy Elite, Indy 500. That was a very clean race up until the last handful of laps. But we saw something like 150, 160 long green flag run in that race, and this is forming up to basically be the same exact thing as Chin and Quinn. Again, another 6/10s taking out that last trip around the racetrack. So they may not need a yellow indeed, Will. They're making time up very, very quickly. Maybe that lead group saving a bit of fuel here. Maybe it's shifted down into a lower fuel trim or something, just saving a little bit of gas, and that's what's giving Chin and Quinn, those guys who actually pit a little bit early, the ability to run rich and start reeling them in, as Blocker's going to take the race lead from Watkins into one.
Espente's in the lead. I think Blocker's car was starting to fall off a little bit, pulling up the front, pulling up P2, P3. Expect Espente and Watkins to maybe start the leapfrog game, knowing what's going on between Quinn and Chin. So maybe they were listening to me, but the strategy, the leapfrog's gonna be in play.
Yeah, we just saw then. Of course, our race coverage here today is brought to you in partnership by Huxenveld Engineering, the official partner of RaceSpotTV's coverage of the 2018 iRacing Indianapolis 500. Battle for the race lead, Espete and Watkins. Here they go again in towards turn number one. And well, Espete has the lead. And how many times have we said, Aaron, at the end of a 500, how close Espete has been to getting glory?
So close, so close. Big loser right now in the trio was Blocker, who led a lot of laps. He's now in that danger zone. He's a quarter second behind. If he loses another 2/10, I expect him to start falling back really fast. But Espete right now going to work great with Watkins. They're going to start leapfrogging. So I guess I'm part announcer, part race strategist. So anytime I'm not announcing, there you go. But that's leveled off Chin and Quinn's cutting of the lead. Lead's now stationary at 5.2 seconds back to P5. Adam Blocker loses another 10th. But what we're seeing right now, and again, we keep mentioning this long green flag run. If we get a yellow, everything's off. But right now, if this goes green to the end, how long do they stay friendly? When do you make your move to try to finish the person off to extend that gap? Right now, it's definitely co-opetition, but 20 to go, 10 to go, or are we going to see 2 to go as the magic mark?
Well, okay, I want to talk to both of you about this because, of course, you've both been, as I have, in terms of a big team over the years, you've been involved with deals with other people. How would you strategize an Indy 500? Randy, you first.
Simple. You fill the tank up, you run it to the end. You fill the tank up, you run it to the end. You fill the tank up, you run it to the end, and you take advantages in terms of a little bit of strategy if things come up, maybe. But I don't think there's any reason for you to start overthinking things in the first 100 laps, first 120 laps. You need to set yourself up for the last 80. In my opinion, just filling that thing up and then running it dry, then filling it up and running it dry is the way you do that. We've seen that time and time again.
Friendships are ended at this race. I'm going to make a deal with the other driver and say, hey, let's lap 190, game on. Well, then if you have the chance to maybe get that 4/10 of a second lead on lap 188, you're going to do it. Teams can be destroyed in the final 10 laps of this race. Think of it as having a treaty and just breaking it because you have the chance to win. Team inside the last 50 laps, they're going to say, yeah, we're going to work together. But if I have a chance to win this race, I don't care who's on my team. I want this race win.
So here we are, lap number 83. We've been running aboard with Martin Miller for the last couple of laps here as we are getting ourselves closer to halfway then. You can get in contact with us on social media. /RaceSpotTV on Facebook, at RaceSpotTV on the Twitter machines, if that is your way of doing things. But again, battle for the race lead, Aaron, in towards 4.
And the leapfrog game's going on. one thing to consider, Michael Peters about to be our first car to go a lap down on speed. So will this affect the leapfrogging game? It would appear that it has allowed Adam Blocker to catch back up to the front trio. Not as easy to leapfrog when you have 2 cars in front of you. Will this help Chin and Quinn? Perhaps, but right now it has separated the front 3 from being able to play the leapfrog game the way I think they would want to play it.
Yep, and that's one of the things we talked about all week long here, Randy, about how some of these drivers, they got a car that works perfectly in clean air. To get into traffic, it's like Bristol Motor Speedway in NASCAR. Yeah, they're 2 complete polar opposites, some might argue, but they're not, because you have to set up a car to work in the way that you feel they can benefit the most in a motor race.
That is one thing that we've always seen here in the IndyCar is how people set their cars up and the approach that they end up having to run these races. And car on the wall just in front of your race leader. That was Michael Peters. Gave that outside wall a little bit of a smack. Did a good job to hold it up there to the top-hand side of the racetrack and let the leaders cycle through. He'll likely come down pit road if that hit was hard enough, because we are right on the brink of the pit cycle regardless. But it's the big talking point of setting yourself up for IndyCar racing. Doesn't matter if it's here at Indianapolis or if it's at Texas. We got another car down towards pit road as well. Kevin Ellis Jr. taking another scheduled stop here and just going side by side on towards pit road. Yeah, it was, but it's a good one. Is how much aero do you take? If you trim that car out, you'll be super quick by yourself, super quick down the straights, and you'll suck up nicely in the draft. But in that same wake through the corners, you're going to push and lose a lot of time. Alternatively, you add some aero on that car. You won't be as racy, perhaps, may not be able to make as many moves down the straights. However, that car is going to be much, much simpler and easier to drive in traffic and with cars out in front of you going through the corners. Generally speaking, people will set those cars up with a little bit of aero, a little bit too much aero early on, and then trim it out as the race goes on. The race leader is now putting someone else a lap down. That's Michael Chin, who's running 21st.
Yeah, having a look on board of Kevin Ellis Jr. then as he comes out of pit road, he will be just ahead of all these cars by about 15 car lengths, shall we say, because they are closing, but it won't be enough. And that's an important thing for Kevin Ellis Jr. He will stay on the lead lap, Randy, as we turn our attention back to the driver of Tanner Watkins and Adam Blocker. They're battling out for P number 2 on track.
That's always a big talking point here, is I believe that Blocker. No, never mind. I thought someone was coming down pit road. That's just Blocker putting Chin a lap down and in his rearview mirror as well. As these guys are going to begin cycling their way through, and the question has to be, when do the rest of these guys start coming down pit road? We've seen Ellis come down pit road. We got one car rolling down the pits. Who is that? Marcus Jensen is on pit road as well.
Yeah, as we're having a look then on board a Blocker, as you say, yeah, Marcus Jensen on towards pit road for his 3rd time here today. So he's making himself another pit stop. And well, Aaron, that's the thing. This race has all of a sudden got a green flag feel to it.
Yep, now 83 laps green or so. Hell, it's never too early to start thinking about that fuel mileage. So that early stop by Chin on the 2nd stop, will that come back and haunt him? Other thing, every time Ellis Jr. pits early, he's a little bit further in front of the leader, which is good for him because that negates the draft advantage for Espati. But right now, Espati is getting that draft off of Peters, which is keeping Espati a little bit faster because Peters is going to be quicker with the fresher tire. So Espati getting the advantage, which has actually spread out Watkins and Blocker. 7/10 back to P2, 1.3 to P3.
Let's have a look then. As we're on board of AJ Burton, the Logical Vortex Sim Racing car, let's check in with the VRS GT World Championship. Jake Sperry, Jack Stars, and Connery Maddock.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe while the cameras are on him, he's not going to make any overtakes. But the thing is, he can't really overtake someone right now because no one is in front of him. He is the defender in this sort of situation from behind. But the thing is, Esther Racing Team looking like they're a lap down at this stage as well. So it looks like that, Ashley, you said the Jim Jr. black car. That is not Alexander Thieves' car.
No, it's not, because that's the MSP Phoenix Racing car just behind it. So that much is true. In comes Dream Factory, Diego Catalan down in onto the lane. Now here's the next question here, Jack. Do you think that tyres were taken for Tommaso Carlo on that last stint?
I can tell you whether or not. No, he didn't. 27.
So you know that no tyres weren't taken then in that pit stop. Of course, you can check out the VOS GT World Championship on iRacing Live, on RaceSpotTV, on Facebook Live and YouTube Gaming. Henry Bennett on pit road right now, Randy.
More scheduled pit stops happening. Number 9 of Henry Bennett comes off onto and off of pit road now, leaving his box. Nice smooth stop from him on pit road as he's going to begin to cycle back out towards the racing surface. Now, when are our leaders going to come down pit road? They're currently working lap number 92 of the race. They last pit for Austin Espatee. His last in lap was lap number 61. He's been doing about 30 or so lap stints. I suspect Espatee might be coming down pit road this time or next time. Tanner Watkins might go an additional lap, may come down pit road next time through. He's done 30 to 31 as well. Let's see, Adam Blocker, he could potentially go another 4 laps. He came down pit road last time on lap number 65.
Yeah, and Espatee is in.
Watkins follows him.
Oh, Espatee a little bit quick in. Oh, locked it up, got sideways. I think he got under the speed, but that's a hold your breath moment. When you come in hot, you know you're a little bit fast. If you slow down and get that average speed within the speed trap, you're okay. And as a driver, that's when you hold your breath and hope to not see that 15-second penalty pop up.
Yeah, and for Austin Espatee, 10.2 out and away. Where is Bradley Walters? He'll come out right around him. But it looks as though that Bradley Walters had got a speeding penalty. So Walters all of a sudden is in big trouble here. It's a long stop for Bradley Walters. And that is, my friend, a speeding penalty. No, let's take that one back. He came in later. I was looking at something else there, Ryan. Leave me alone.
It's okay. I won't bully you too hard for once in my life.
Okay. But Walters 10.6 second pit stop, 36.5 overall. But there was someone around the driver of Austin Espatee that came in that did seem to have a bit of a longer pit stop. I'm having a look through to try and find that one out. But in the meanwhile, Aaron, we are now onto our 3rd green flag pit stop run in a row.
And just incredible clean racing. How long will it last? Hopefully to the checkered, but at some point in time, you know it's going to be game on. Interesting thing to be looking for. Michael Peters has been giving absolutely the former top 3. It's been changed now, but Michael Peters doing everything he can to stay on the tail end of being 1 lap down, soon to be 2 laps down, because if you're 2 laps down, you get the wave around, you're still 1 lap down. So that slowed up Watkins and Espatee, because Peters it wasn't just going to roll over and go 2 laps down. If the yellow comes out, he gets a wave around, he's back on the lead lap. That allowed Chin and Quinn to catch up about 6/10. That lead was up to 6 seconds, now down to 5.3. Thing to notice now, though, is when will Chin come in, because he is our driver he's about the only driver I think that can do 1 less stop.
Yeah, and Adam Blocker is also, though, on a similar strategy, and the gap between them is 5 seconds. There is Adam Blocker. You see him on your screens right now. He's got lap traffic. Well, we call it lap traffic officially, Randy, but it's not really lap traffic. But Adam Blocker should turn onto hard left here and go on towards pit road. No, he'll do another lap. And Joshua Chin looks like he is going to do another lap as well.
Nope.
No, he's on towards pit road.
Yeah, so Josh is going to come down pit road, get it down to pit road speed, much smoother than some of the people we've seen come down pit road recently. And I don't know, it's an interesting call from Josh Chin. This might give him a little bit of a short stop, but we know that Josh's plan is to try to come out off of pit road somewhere around Liam Quinn so they can continue leapfrogging. And I honestly think in terms of just track position, I think that's more valuable for Quinn and Chin than fuel strategy right now. I think they need a yellow kind of regardless. They had a sort of phase where they reeled in that gap by about 1 second to 2 seconds on the racetrack, but they sort of hit a wall. They sort of plateaued in terms of that speed. Let's see if those two are going to be able to leapfrog each other once again, as Liam Quinn is going to be heading through in towards turn 1 right now, and whereas Josh, he's heading off the exit of turn 1. They should just about sync up given the shortcut Josh has on the access road, but Liam a little bit better on pit road that time.
Yeah, we've seen more pit stops taking place at the same time.
Walker's in.
Yeah, Watkins is now on towards, well, Blocker's on towards pit road even. Let's have a look as we see here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway coming down and out. 10.7 pits up there. Aaron, back out onto the racetrack. He will go.
And if Blocker can go 34 laps each run, his final stop would have to be on lap 200. He would make it. So Blocker right now, the only driver that could make it in one last stop, unless Chin can turn out an extra lap. But Chin, I don't think he can play the fuel-saving game if we go green the rest of the way, because he needs to try to, on speed, catch up to the leaders. But right now, Adam Blocker is in a race all his own, and we talk about strategy all the time, that if you do play the fuel-saving game, you have to stick to it. As we mentioned earlier, J.R. Hildebrand will forever be known for turn 4 at Indy. Let's go back to Pocono, the first time IndyCar went back, and Tony Kanaan. They played the fuel-saving game, and unfortunately, they went back and forth, and it completely blew up in their face. So for Blocker right now, if he wants to win this race, his best chance is going to be on fuel, and right now he has the leader's draft. He has no reason to try to take second, try to take first, because if we go green the rest of the way, I think he's going to be our winner.
Yep, and there's the incident, of course, with J.R. Hildebrand. I like to call it J.R. Oops. Down at turn number 4, of course, when he lost the 2011 Indianapolis 500 in their final lap. Of course, that was the year, Aaron, that 2 National Guard cars lost the lead of the race in both IndyCar and NASCAR on the final lap of what is one of the most prestigious races for each of those series.
And I don't, trying to calculate the odds of that, way too much work. Just an absolute fluke, but you still have to feel for Hildebrand. I don't think, I finished second. I threw a race away on iRacing that just an open race doesn't really mean anything. It'll sting for a couple hours, but the Indy 500, he was less than 5/8 of a mile away from racing immortality, and now he's if Wide World of Sports were still around on ABC Sports, he might be the new agony of defeat.
Yeah, he is indeed. Here's a look at your top 8, by the way, as we are past the halfway distance at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Austin Espartee, Tanner Watkins, they are battling for position with Adam Blocker right behind them in 3rd place. Kevin Ellis Jr. in 4th. Then you got yourself Liam Quinn and Joshua Chin. They are scrapping it out for P number 5 and 6. Henry Bennett and Andrew Kinsella round out your top 8. Renal McBride and Bradley Walters rounding out your top 10. On board then for a lap with Joshua Chin. This is RaceSpotTV Fan Immersion. What a great iRacing Indy 500 this has been so far here, Randy. We actually will have Matt Cook to talk to us in a couple of moments' time. Unfortunately, out too early in this event down at P number 24. But overall, Randy, this has been a fantastic iRacing Indy 500. We still have ourselves 22 drivers. No, I take that back again. 19 drivers on the lead lap, and 3 drivers scored 1 lap down as we stand right now.
Yeah, it's been incredibly clean. A lot of green flag running, which is what you love to see, as we're now past half distance. So hard to believe that this Indy 500 is already halfway gone. But we have another half to look forward to. The leaders begin running their way down that back straightaway. And I have to say, Will, although it's looking like long green flag runs, at Indy curveballs always get thrown. I would highly doubt if we run the last 90-some-odd laps of this thing under green flag conditions. I think somewhere there's going to be an incident that's going to shuffle up the field.
Yeah, of course you say that, but Aaron, we know that whenever we say there's going to be a caution, there won't be one. Every time we say there'll be a green flag run, there will be a caution. All 3 of them.
Right now, Blocker 2 years ago, in terms of our racing lexicon, Rossing your way to a victory, nobody knew. Of course, 100, 500, that's the way it played out. And right now, Blocker has this race made. He can make it. If I were first and second, if I were Espity, if I were Watkins, I would put Blocker out in front. Make him burn that fuel. Make him come in on lap 199, because right now, Blocker has it made. And that's the thing. When you have a race made, so often it falls apart. One yellow, his almost clinch of this race, gone. So Indy sort of has a habit of making you think one person's going to win, and poof, victory slips from within their grasp. And right now, for Blocker, he's holding his breath that the next 94 laps go green.
On board right now with the driver Atana Watkins, as we're going to talk to Matt Cook from the Banshee Aero X Team 1. Matt, your race didn't go the way you wanted it to again. Heartbreak at the 500.
Yeah, absolutely, Will. It didn't play out the way we had expected it to, but you got to take a few risks here and there, and ours just didn't play out this time.
So talk us through the difficulties of running here, because we've seen a mixture of pack racing and then having to really work the corners hard in the second half of a run.
Yeah, you really got to stay ahead of the car on this one. The tire fall off is pretty significant, so a lot of guys are running some pretty high downforce. There are a few, though, that have been running a little bit more medium kind of downforce, and they really start falling off. We took a chance on that earlier today, and a couple of us just dropped off as soon as we got about 10 or 15 laps in.
Well, of course, you haven't got yourself the victory here today. Of course, you're retired, but you got the Classic IndyCar Series, the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series, and of course, well, it's only 364 days until the next one of these.
Yeah, absolutely, Will. We're always looking forward to it, but hopefully our guys that are still running the high downforce have a great day, and hopefully they can come home with a win.
Matt Cook there from Banshee X, and I have to apologise then. It's 365 days, Aaron, because next year is a leap year.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, no, this year's been a leap year. I'm completely... I don't even know what year it is
2020.
anymore. Yeah, 2020.
2020 will be our leap year.
That's the one.
Every U.S. presidential election, Summer Olympic year. Other way to remember when a leap year is.
Yep. As Henry Bennett right now battling out with Andrew Kinsella. These are two guys right now, Randy, who could win this event, but they need each other in order to do so.
Yeah, they do, but they're a little bit too far back, I think. But they're going to try to do the Liam Quinn and Josh Chin game of trying to leapfrog their way up near the front of the field. It's working sort of okay at the moment, but for Chin and Quinn, we don't see them reeling in that lead pack the way they were earlier on. It's sort of stabilized at 5 seconds. Now it's out to about 5.5, as Kinsella and Bennett are going to do the same exact thing as they head down that front straightaway. Reeled in about a tenth to Josh Chin that last time through, but not making the gains that they need to. But one driver who's done a good job is actually that Tua Kevin Ellis Jr. We've not talked much about him. Just about 2 seconds or so off that race lead, just behind that lead pack. I'd say that number 2 car with a little bit of Sadie help out in front of him, that's John Downing, might be able to just make something of this if those two work together. He's done a good job to put himself in good track position here, coming towards 90 laps to go.
Yeah, that Apex Racing UK machine currently 2.2 seconds behind your race leader. You can, of course, get social of us. On Facebook, it's /RaceSpotTV. On Twitter, it is @RaceSpotTV. This is your iRacing Indy 500 weekend. Of course, we've got one more race. It won't be broadcasted, but coming up tomorrow. So if you are an iRacing member looking at this saying, hey, I want to do this, you can. Go onto iRacing right now. You can't qualify, but you can still race in the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. And that's the thing here, Aaron, because it's not just one race taking part right now. There are over 50 races taking place, each driver raising a glass of virtual milk as they win their own split.
Yeah, this is the highlighted race, the top split, but no matter if you're in the top split or bottom split, the competition and the goal is the same. Sure, the winner here will be the winner we mentioned next year, but for the drivers that win whatever split they're in, oh, the feeling's going to be the same. A victory is a victory, especially when you work 2.5 hours to win the Indy 500. So we highlight here, but there's drivers of all skill levels throughout the field. So if you're watching this and saying, hey, this looks like a good time, you will have people of your own ability to race with, and racing wheel to wheel with anybody on here is a great time.
On board with Andrew Kinsella right now in the absolute power slide car as he works himself past Henry Bennett. Bennett and Kinsella have been battling for the last 10 laps here, Randy, at IMS.
Yeah, they have, but like we said, they need to do this. They need to get hooked together, and they need to work together. They're not really battling so much, even though they're swapping positions back and forth. They're just leapfrogging, letting one driver get out in front, give the second driver that draft, and that driver then takes the lead, does it again, back and forth, back and forth. If you do that and the leaders don't, you will reel them in by a considerable margin. We saw that from Liam Quinn and Joshua Chin earlier on. Now the leaders have basically been doing that, trading the lead back and forth, is helping speed them up. Adam Blocker, when the driver that we know is sort of in really good position in terms of fuel, might be why he's in such good position with the fuel. He's just sort of checked back a few tenths of a second on those top two and is just getting that super draft from the two of them and just letting them pull him around the racetrack everywhere he goes. So that's likely why that 16 machine is getting the sort of fuel numbers that he is.
Yeah, indeed. So as Liam Quinn gets himself then up one more position as he passes Joshua Chin, we're going to take your RaceSpotTV side by side here and give you an update on what's going on in the VRS GT World Championship. We'll be back in a few moments' time.
Well, now they got to go the lap times in. 53.7. It's an improvement of 0.2 over that last time, but a 53.2 from Mitchell de Jong. So consistent was he last season at Spa-Francorchamps. He put 7 consecutive laps within 1/10 of a second of each other. That's how good Mitchell de Jong can be. And right now, it's not as impressive, but he is still clawing that gap down, increasing that gap back to Thrustmaster Movano, who did a 53.6 that last time by, who are hurting right now on the older tyres, not making that decision. When they pit, they'll have to go for tyres. When Coanda pits, they'll have to go for tyres. But very, very crucially, when Pure Racing Team Red pit, there will not be tyres on their final stop, Jack.
Yeah, definitely. VRS, Coanda Simsport and Thrustmaster Movano, they're going to be pinning around the top of the hour, I would suspect, and they will be taking tyres for that final hour. Ricardo Castroledo as well, he has now been released, but is he going to carry on fuel saving, or is he going to be pedal to the metal? Lead gap already down to 3.3 seconds now between Castroledo and Mitchell de Jong. Mitchell de Jong might be able to get in front of Ricardo Castroledo, and he's done one more stop, Jake. If he does, this is incredible and definitely takes Corsim Racing out of the run for the win.
Back Sedgwick jumps Kei Kashube, Team 33 with a long stop. Sedgwick has not for Simacube in X Racing and gets out crucially ahead of Alex Arana and Williams Jim Jr. White. So they've got positions, they've got good positions as they will look to chase down Teo Martin over this next stint, try and find a way past Alvaro Ramiro in terms of the next run. So that one's probably about P6, P7. Venig, though, keep an eye on this one. He's actually pulling that gap away now, Connery, from Josh Rogers. 0.3 over that last lap. Venig has the pedal down. He knows what he needs to do, and that is break TTL.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it was just a bad lap there for Joshua Rogers. It was a 153.5. Compare that to the lap previously. He did a 153 flat. So 153 flat is the potential for Joshua Rogers, but the thing is that lap, he must have made a mistake somewhere out there on circuit. PRT Black got down on towards the lane, so Sebastian Schalmenbach has now pitted. Of course, still about 43 laps to go, so they'll also need to do a splash and dash at the end of this event as well. So
It always is. I'll be honest, I haven't really been able to follow that VRS race the way that I'd like to. I'm trying to follow this race and keep track of the real Indy 500 qualifying that's happening. So really busy day for us race fans here at RaceSpot.
No, absolutely not. If this race goes green the rest of the way, Adam Blocker is your winner. So absolutely not. Watkins and Espati want to keep the lead. They don't want to allow Chin and Quinn into the mix, but if you want to put Blocker to the test, get him out in front, make him burn the fuel. Right now they're just playing into his hand, allowing him to run 6th gear, lift off the throttle in the corners, and keep the same amount of speed. And even if they got 20 seconds in front of Blocker, that would not be enough. So they got to make Blocker burn the fuel. Now, right now, the only great day is our top trio, which I don't think anybody would have expected the way this race has played out to this point. Pitting now, though, well, I guess you've got if you are on the 4 stops or 3 stops remaining, now's the time. Key lap, though, if you want to make it in one more stop after this one, 132 is going to be the window. You got to make it to 132 to make it on just one less stop from there.
And yeah, Aaron, that's the
right.
countback. That's the countback that I talk about every year in the iRacing Indy 500. It's the countback from lap 200. You do not think about the race from lap number 1. You count back to what you can do to get yourself to the end of the motor race.
And that's why we saw Chin and others pit under that first yellow, as Espati comes into the pits, and this is much earlier than we've seen, lap 122, which I'm okay with this, Will. If Espati and Watkins come in now, that leaves Blocker all by himself out front. If you can make him pit on lap 131, that makes it a little bit more daunting. So this could be the way to get Blocker out in front without necessarily slowing down.
Yeah, as here we are then on board with Austin Espati, out and away, 10.1 seconds. He goes, Randy.
So another full stop from him. Are they going to begin circling through? If I can speak the English language, Tanner Watkins going to come down pit road. Adam Blocker going to enjoy a nice dose of clean air, which will not be great for the drag, but will be great for the feeling of the car. This actually might allow Josh Chen and Liam Quinn to make some big headways on them as well. Now the gap down to 4.3 seconds. Just that little bit of Blocker not having the draft has enabled those two to really reel in that race leader. So that gap down from those two of Josh Chen, and actually Liam's falling back as Josh Chen and Henry Bennett now kind of the two that are doing this and leapfrogging each other. If they can just stay out for a number of laps, Josh Chen needs to play the long game here. He might be able to bring that gap down to that number 16 considerably.
Tanner Watkins out of pit road, 10.3 second in the absolute zero power slide machine. Let's listen in for a moment. Okay, tight line there taken through turn number 1 and 2 there, Aaron. You can arc it up, but Tanner Watkins then taking a more conservative approach on that number 125 of 200.
You don't want to throw a race away. Being a little bit conservative is okay right now, especially when you have a trio that is running away with it. Espati is going to be closing in on the draft. This is P9, P10 on the track or so, as they're going to cycle through one more time here to see where they are running. But right now, it's just Espati and Watkins. They're going to start the leapfrog game. Could have been strategy if he would have been a little bit more aggressive. Might have been a little bit harder to get this tandem in play, but they are in sync once more. Chin, though, lead between Blocker and Chin 3.4, although I have to wonder if Blocker has dialed back on the fuel to save because he no longer has the draft.
Rick Music on towards pit road, out of pit road, 11 seconds. And we have to say here, Randy, we have been green now for over 110 laps.
Yeah, phenomenal, isn't it, to have such a long green flag run? And I think the big talking point of this race, Will, we talked about the teams coming in that were strong. We saw Vortex strong in qualifying. Sadie, of course, very good in qualifying. Of course, Banshee, AeroX, Power Slide, Team Afterburn, very, very good in qualifying as well. But in the race, it's been all like the Banshee Power Slide group, and everyone else has been nowhere anywhere in terms of the race setup, with the exception of Kevin Ellis Jr. Everyone else has fallen a number of spots. You think Rick Music fallen from second on back to basically outside the top 10 all day. Bradley Walters, same story. He's now adrift to the race lead and along as the lead lap. So those guys that spent all that work qualifying, it ended up being for nothing, as they've had absolutely no speed and no strategy at all in the race, as Josh Chin is going to come down pit road and Adam Blocker is going to stay out and go another lap.
There is a strategy thing in this one as well.
Josh Chin very fast on pit road. He might have sped.
Let's have a look at the replay.
Oh, that's close.
Close it down. Very close there, Randy. Well, we do know he did get out of the way in time, but that was on the borderline.
Yeah, it really was. It really, really was. And he's going to be counting his lucky stars to not get tapped for that one. But news for him, the fact that he didn't get penalized, that should set him up for a pretty quick pit stop, as the likes of Watkins and Espity are going to cycle past him. He's going to try to circulate back out on the racetrack. So Espity and Watkins, they may have just made up a pretty big amount of ground on pit road, considering the fact that they've been working with each other and leapfrogging back and forth, back and forth. They've pretty much kept the gap where it is the same compared to Joshua Chin. Adam Blocker, he might be the big loser with this green flag, with this pit stop cycle.
You say that, but having a look through the last couple of pit stops,
I'm talking in terms of track position.
No, I'm saying this, right, for the moment. It's Tanner Watkins, 36 lane to lane, 35.8 for Kevin Ellis Jr., 35.9 for Austin Espity, 36.5 for Adam Blocker the last time by, but he's due another pit stop. Aaron, go ahead.
The strategy game is on. Our leader, Adam Blocker, running laps in the 41s. So he is playing the fuel game now, so he's going to come out probably behind Chin and Quinn. He's almost a full second off of what he was running when he was running with Espity and Watkins. So Blocker has committed to the strategy. He's on lap 130. We're coming around to 131. If he's on track for one more lap, he can do this. This is the big moment. Will he come in or will he stay out?
He's in.
Oh, it's going to be close.
He's in. He's in then, so it will be close. But for Adam Blocker, he is going to take the risk then. This is what you do sometimes, Randy. When you're in an iRacing Indianapolis 500, you take the strategy risk. Because if this race goes green to the end, he is still in prime position. He can run out on the last lap and still win the race.
He's going to need a big gap in order to do that. He's waiting to get released. Did he speed? Nope, he didn't speed. Ended up just being a little bit of a long stop. I think there from Adam Blocker, 10.5 seconds is where he was up there on the jacks, but it's going to be very, very close for him in order to make this work. Was that who I think it was? Yeah, Tanner Watkins and Austin Espity, they've already circulated past, and look at the amount of speed and the amount of pace that they have spread out over that driver of Adam Blocker. Blocker has lost 6 seconds or so on that last run. He's lost an immense amount of time, as he's going to come out just ahead of Joshua Chin, so Chin will have someone to work with, as well as Adam Blocker.
Yeah,
Blocker isn't going to want to work. He's going to stay behind Chin because he needs to play the draft. So Chin thinks, hey, I have somebody to work with, but Blocker's going to have no interest in being the car out front.
Yeah, and for Blocker right now, all he's going to do here, Aaron, is just stick behind. And at some point, Joshua Chin will get the message. Let him pass. Do not fight this battle. But for Blocker right now, he's in perfect position to try and make strategy work for himself.
Yeah, if he needs to keep going a couple seconds slower, what is the magic mark that our leaders need to pull away from Blocker on that final splash and dash? What's that entry time, exit time that they need to do? Because if Blocker needs to start cutting 0.4 of a second now to make it to 200, will he lose too much time?
Yeah, lap number 132 then of 200 in the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Andrew Kinsella, a driver many thought might have a chance at winning this event, is down in P number 8 right now, 7.5 seconds behind your race leader. But, well, Aaron, one thing worth talking about is the fact that if there's a caution, it all changes so quickly.
Yeah, the way this race is played out, I think as we had the restart on lap 5, I think a lot of the drivers figured it'd be a 10-lap run, 15-lap run, and somebody else would find the wall or cut somebody off. That hasn't happened. So as we looked at the drivers P6 through P12, there are winning cars in that group that might have just been a little bit conservative on that first 5 laps on the restart, lost the tow, lost the draft, and are now mired back 7 or 16, even 23 seconds behind. If we do get that yellow, expect a big mix-up and expect the friendliness to go away, because if you get freight trained, you can go first to 10th in a hurry.
Yeah, as we got Joshua Chin versus Liam Quinn going battle for P number 4 on track. But, well, let's go through your field here then on the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500, and we'll start with the battle for the race lead. It is Austin Espartee who leads the way right now. He is your leader, and he's got himself the teammate of Tanner Watkins behind him. But Austin Espartee here, he's had so much bad luck in years previous here, Randy, but he's looking for his first iRacing Indy 500 victory.
He's doing a good job with it. He's up 19 spots. So all that work so many teams did in qualifying, trying to start up near the front of the field, proves you don't have to start at the front of this field in order to be put yourself in good position. So up 19 spots here for Austin Espartee. Leading this thing was Tanner Watkins just behind him, just a couple tenths of a second. Well, that's about to change here as Watkins wants the race lead as they head to the yard of bricks.
Yep, so Espartee will move himself down into P number 2 here. But what it does mean, we got ourselves a new race leader, and that is the driver of Tanner Watkins in the number 21 machine, Aaron, who again could also become a new winner here at the Brickyard.
If Blocker comes up short on fuel, this race is between Espartee and Watkins. They are really feeling each other out, and at what point in time will they figure, do you want to be second on the final lap or first? For Watkins, this race almost going too perfect, and that's a very scary feeling as a racer when you have a 2-second lead over third, 6 seconds to fourth. Right now, though, you have to breathe. This is the part of the race for Watkins that it's very easy to make that slip, especially now that they aren't playing the leapfrogging game. Momentary lapses, hard as these cars are to control. Oh, Watkins on pins and needles, even though he is the leader. Soon to be second.
Kevin Ellis Jr. runs in 3rd place right now. He is 2 seconds, Randy, behind your race leader. But this is the Kevin Ellis Jr. who could have won the last round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series at Monza. He loves fast racetracks.
He definitely does. He was very, very quick here last year as well. Was in potential position to win that race. Got some late race drama early that unfortunately cycled him out of it. So now for Kevin Ellis Jr. in a podium spot. It's been a fantastic run for him thus far. And I think he's in a good situation right now for himself. He doesn't have any traffic around him. Very unlikely that something crazy is going to happen unless the field gets reset. So for Kevin Ellis Jr., maybe not in a race winning situation right now in terms of strategy. No one to really work with to try to make up that 2-second disadvantage he has to the race leaders out in front of him, but he's gonna be able to just sort of cruise calmly here for the last 60 or so laps to be able to hold on to this spot if it stays green.
P number 4 is the driver of Liam Quinn right now in the Team Talent number 15 car here, Aaron. And while Liam Quinn is another driver who can, well, he just lost the position to Joshua Chin, but he still can go for this race lead at the end.
Yeah, one bit of luck, and Liam Quinn has a chance at this win. I don't know how many times Quinn and Chin have swapped spots. I think they're about to do so once more, as they do going into turn 3. For Quinn, though, needs a little bit of help, but his car definitely has the capabilities of winning this race. If there's one driver, or rather 2 drivers that want to see a yellow, it is definitely the 2 running P4 and P5.
Yeah, as Josh Chin is right behind. In fact, now he's right ahead in towards turn number 1. And while Randy, Josh Chin, again, one of these drivers that's come close in the years previous, has never been able to really stack together a full iRacing Indy 500.
He's never been able to. Always find some trouble late on in the races. Either gets unfortunate with the drafting situation and ends up second place to one of the closest finishes we've ever seen, or gets caught up in some issue. Now he works with Liam Quinn, which he has been basically for the last 120 some odd laps of the race. He should be very comfortable with that purple car out in front of him.
Behind them is Andrew Kinsella. He is P6, and for Kinsella, oh, he too needs a little bit of help. Very quick car. He started P15. He's up 9 spots to P6, and he's about to join the 2 cars of Quinn and Chin, so they may make a trio, which don't know if 3-car leapfrogging will be effective. But for Kinsella, 1 yellow, and expect him to be fighting for a podium, if not the win.
Next in line, of course, after Kinsella is going to be that 16 car of Adam Blocker, one of the drivers we think is in prime position to potentially win this race, running 7th on the racetrack right now. He has potentially the fuel strategy. If he can end up stretching it, we think he's very, very close. Might have to try to stretch a lap over these next couple stints, but if he can do that, he should likely be in prime position. As I believe green flag pit stop starting again. Michael Peters is on pit road, who's a couple of laps down.
Walters also on towards pit road in the number 20 machine, so making another pit stop here. And that's the whole thing here, Aaron. We're only 58 laps away from the end of this motor race. Do I dare say it?
Dare say we go to the end?
It'll be the fastest ever iRacing Indy 500.
We're 103 minutes into this race, and almost now 3/4 of the way through. This race is going over in a blur, and if you would have asked any of the drivers, any of the spectators, heck, ask us at the start of the race if we would have only had 1 yellow to this point, nobody would have taken that bet. No way, no chance, no how. And yet, here we are with multiple strategies going on. If Blocker can win this, this would have been one of the earliest strategy plays ever to go, but he's now 8.5 seconds behind, and again on a splash and go, as we expect to see Watkins and Espity have to do in the 190s. Will Blocker be too far back at the rate he's losing, or will he have just enough?
We'll find out. We're going to take a about a 60-minute commercial here. 60-second commercial here.
See you in an hour.
You're watching RaceSpotTV on iRacing Live. This is the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Welcome back then to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We have got ourselves just over 50 laps of this event to go. Let's check in with the VRS guys going on at the Nürburgring. We've got a yellow here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So, just when you don't expect one, we do get a yellow, and well, what's just happened there? Aaron, talk to us. What has just happened? Aaron, give us a replay. What happened?
Yeah, we go yellow here at Indy. So all the strategy now out the window. I was thinking during our break that the racer in me wanted to see a yellow. The strategist in me wanted this to happen, but Constantini hit the wall in turn 3, got loose, bent the suspension, went up, hit the wall in turn 4, was sideways. Believe Michael Peters then came in as Constantini tried to get the car righted right in front of Peters. So 2 cars out and game on.
Yep, there's the incident there from Michele Constantini into the wall, and then you'll see Michael Peters hit right about now. And that's a bad move there by Constantini, actually. Never move the race car when you're wrecked, Randy.
Yeah, it's always a big thing. After you've hit that wall, you need to just keep it there. Luckily, I ended up taking Michael Peters out as opposed to someone running up further in the field. That's nothing against Michael Peters, but
yeah.
Well, you know what I don't mean anything against Michael Peters, but that would have happened to a leader. Oh my word! But you're right. He started trying to move that car around, and unfortunately took a lane away from Michael Peters. But as Aaron said, strategy out of the window. Lap number 148. Everyone can make it here with one more green flag. Stop. I expect people to still be saving some fuel, though, because you want to have as short of a final stop as possible. But now everyone can make it. Watkins, SPT, Quinn, Chin, Kinsella, your top 5. Did Ellis Jr. actually recently pit? Because if Ellis pit just before that caution flew, he will be cycling out likely as your race leader.
He did.
And they take a look. He did come down pit road, so an Apex driver will likely be out in front.
Okay, so on pit road, Tanner Watkins, Austin Asperty, Quinn, Chin, Kinsella, Blocker, Miller, Drake, et al. Right now, as they all come on towards pit road. The cars you see on the left-hand side of your screen, they're the drivers scored 1 lap down right now. So everyone comes in to get themselves fuel and tires. Kevin Ellis Jr. leads this motor race, and he leads it by a virtue of pitting at the right time. And this is the thing here, Aaron. Pit stops, you do them on the green. If you're lucky, you make them work for you. And we see that down positions, Watkins, SPT, Quinn. Up 1 position is Chad Simpson. But for Kevin Ellis Jr., he is up a big time right now.
And everything we've seen so far, irrelevant. We now have no idea what anybody has. Quinn, Chin, Blocker. Well, Blocker's now going to be, doesn't have to save fuel. Kinsella's in the mix. Miller's in the mix. Simpson's in the mix. And now we have a new leader in Kevin Ellis Jr. If his car's trimmed out for speed, how well will the people behind him get around him? We're going to have a lot of cars getting the wave around when we go 1 to green. Everything we knew about this race, throw it out the window. It's a 50-lap sprint race.
Well, Randy, I'm going to leave it to you for the next 60 seconds. What is going to happen in the last 52 laps of this motor race?
You're going to see a pandemonium. Things are going to start getting crazy. Kevin Ellis Jr. is going to be all alone out in front. I know a lot of people are going to think, hey, look, Apex's strategy ended up working out perfectly. Ellis Jr., he's just circulated into the race lead. Kevin Ellis Jr. has absolutely no friends. Just look down the names of your top handful of spots. Tanner Watkins, Austin Esposito, Liam Quinn, Andrew Kinsella, Adam Blocker, Martin Miller, Jeff Drake. AJ Burton is the first the first semi sort of friend that Kevin Ellis Jr. might have. You have Chad Simpson, Josh Chin, Simon Bryant, Henry Bennett, Bradley Walters. So Kevin Ellis Jr., he's going to have to find somehow, some way to do this alone out in front with no friends to work with. All of his teammates and all of his brethren are either going to be at the back of the pack or 1 lap down. So it's still him pretty much versus the world right now out in front. And with 50 laps to go, nothing is decided yet regardless. Anything can happen here. Kevin Ellis Jr., though, has a lot to work with.
Okay, so here is the situation. The lights are off on top of the iRacing pace car. And here are your top 8 as it stands right now. Kevin Ellis Jr., due to strategy, now leads this motor race. Tanner Watkins in P2. Austin Aspertine in 3rd. Liam Quinn in 4th. Chin in P number 5. Adam Blocker in P6. Andrew Kinsella in P number 7. And Martin Miller rounds out your top 8. Let's give you some RaceSpotTV fan immersion then to bring you back to the green flag here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Noah Bryce involved in the third caution of the day. Randy, talk us through what happened.
Well, Henry Bennett is still spinning like a top, but not really. I haven't actually seen a good angle of the incident just yet, but seem Henry Bennett and Niall McBride, the two drivers involved. Is that one of the Sadie drivers maybe they got tangled with? No, it happened out in front of them. Let's see what happened to Niall. Who is he fighting with that shoved it down there? Was it Simon Bryant? Yeah, that's... I don't know. I think that might be a Brad move there from Bryant. He sort of moved up in the short chute, Will, which is never what you want to do. He was latched to the rear of his teammate there of Bud Weiser, and I don't know if Bud checked up. I'm not sure what the deal was, but Simon Bryant tried to move up on the entry into turn 3, which you never, ever, ever need to do. Simon Bryant, I think, is the cause of that incident 100%.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed there as well is that Noah McBride really struggled on that restart. Another look on board of him and Aaron. You can just see he has to lift out the throttle 4 times as he gets the green flag.
And the difficult thing there in terms of Bryant and McBride is car on the outside's coming down, car on the inside's coming up just a little bit. So easy to just make slight contact. And when you have cars in front checking up, you might miss your mark by half a foot, and very well could have happened there. And we get our third yellow, so our hopes for a fastest 500 might have been diminished there, but bad break for Bennett. Innocent bystander there had nowhere to go, and now the pace car gets some more laps led.
Yeah, indeed. So having a look then on board with Andrew Kinsella at the restart, you can see the incident just behind him. Let's take you back then to what's happening in the VRS GT World Championship Series.
The corner, look for the momentum through the Schumacher S's, and then try to set up for a move maybe down in towards 11, but we haven't seen all that many passes there, and in fact Backham's just going to drop back a little bit, give himself a little bit of breathing room so he can then sense an opportunity later on.
Alex Arana is one of those drivers who will race his race, and he doesn't matter who he's racing against, he will race them to the best of his capabilities, strategy or no strategy. As a big wide line from Matt Backham, he pushes hard, and you can see how much it means now. Matt Backham's been in situations like this before. Hark back, GT500, Sim Racing Expo, the team of himself and Mitchell de Jong brought themselves into a situation, Jack, where they had to fight off 3 of the greatest teams in sim racing. Little half look down to the inside, he's got to have the shot into 1.
The lights are ablaze on that number 8 Audi of Mac Backham, and you can just see how frustrated he's getting behind that Jim Racing or Williams Jim Jr. white car of Alex Arana, and he's running so wide. And in fact, he's going to go down to the turn on the inside. Alex Arana going to close the door on the Mac Backham. Mac Backham is not going to be pleased on that. He's going to have a look on the inside line coming down into turn number 2. Mac Backham, once again, he's going to have to get stuck behind. He is losing time now to Maximilian Benecke. The gap is now out to 1 minute. Oh no, sorry. The gap is now out to 57 seconds. Around the outside through the Mercedes arena. Is he going to be able to get the move done? I believe he is. No, he's not.
No, he ran way too wide, and the door was left open because of a mistake from the Williams Jim Jr. machine. He had to leave the room. He just got a bit of a nose down the inside, but a mistake through 4th from Backham has cost him against Alex Arana in the Williams Jim Jr. white. Jim is making decisions now for this race. It is 53 seconds at the moment. It is still wait, hold, can you do anything? But at the moment, it's no. Benecke just needs to keep doing the lap times that he's doing. A 53.1 that last time by Connery. That is perfect for Max Benecke.
It is absolutely perfect. And if you're Alex Arana now, do you actually want to be annoying Mac Backham? We know what happens when Mac Backham is annoyed and fired up. So he could be putting his own car at risk at this stage. His own, what is going to be probably ended up being a very close to a top 10 finish for that Jim Jr. white car once they come in and serve their stop. They still have to serve a stop. VRS Commander don't. I'm not sure why they're trying to hold up Commander so much.
It's Alex Arana. That's the only explanation you need, Connery, as they head into the MGK chicane once again. Lap 161 of their races on the brakes into the right-hander. Now the question becomes, how do you attack? As in comes Simacube in X-Racing Blue. They've made their final stop there.
Well, of course, that's a fantastic race going on right now in the VRS GT World Championship Series on iRacing. The 9th annual iRacing Indy 500 is going on at the same time. And well, I will say one thing, Randy. It's great in some ways to have 2 races going on at the same time, but also Backham could have been fantastic in this event.
Yeah, it could have. Thinking about Mac Backham, you also have to think about Pachalis Gurgis. Could have been wonderful to watch in this event as well. Always interesting to see those guys that you don't typically see in the IndyCar turn up. Heck, one of them's leading right now, Kevin Ellis Jr. inside of 50 laps to go. Everyone's going to the top side, trying to defend that outside groove. Fuel economy's out of it. Put it to full rich. Get ready to put that pedal to the floor as Kevin Ellis Jr. begins to bring us back to green flag racing.
Here we are then, green flag back in the air. Here we go, one more time at Indianapolis.
Ellis could be a sitting duck here on the back straightaway, guys.
Yep, here we are, down towards turn number 3. Aaron took us correct.
They're going to go side by side. Watkins to the outside. We're almost going to go 3 wide. SPT and P3 trying to figure out what lane to go. It is an absolute dogfight up front. Ellis Jr. is going to now take the high side. SPT looks to the inside. Watkins to the outside.
On pit road. Kinsella on pit road. He may have gotten a penalty on the restart.
Oh, my word. Well, Jake Sperry's going to be unhappy about that one, isn't he, Randy?
Yep, Rip, the only old oval driver all year to get any Sperry points as they head down the back straightaway. One driver comes off of pit road. That's Bud Weiser, who we saw involved in the incident. They're nearly 3 wide for the race lead. Bud had better wise up and get out of the way as they head in towards turn 3, but they're going to single file out as they head through the south side of the racetrack.
Yeah, on board right now, the driver of Liam Quinn, P number 4, and Team Talent. As you can see, Bud Weiser is still ahead of a couple of these cars. And Weiser, he needs to fight for this one because, of course, if you get a caution late on, this could help bring him back to the lead lap here, Aaron.
Yeah, but being 4 laps down, though, as he is,
well, yeah,
that
okay.
move going into turn 3, I would have put it down on the access road. No reason to get in front of the leaders. As speaking of the leaders, we're going to go side by side for the lead. Espetit to the inside. Oh, almost touching wheels there. Let's hold your line. Oh, this is tight. This is what we expected all race long. It is game on. Will Espetit have the momentum on the inside to hold off Ellis Jr.? We may go 2 by 2 into turn 1.
Here's the look then, as they do go 2 by 2 in towards turn 1. Look at that, almost 3 wide for the Battle for Your Race lead here in the Indianapolis 500 on iRacing, the 9th annual iRacing Indy 500 presented by Huxenveld Engineering. And well, Kevin Ellis Jr., we cannot forget the race he had at Monza in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series round because he was so good then. But he has had luck go against him. Now he's looking for redemption.
Don't forget his race at Montreal as well. Got some strategy and got out in front as they're still close and side by side for that race lead. But Austin Espetit, he's going to have the inside groove and might lead it at the line. No, looks like he's going to be Ellis working that outside groove. 2500ths of a second separates your top 2. They're still side by side. We got one car wiggling. Chad Simpson's up in the wall, I believe. No, that's not. That may be AJ Burton, who's off groove and gave that wall a little bit of a scrape on the exit of 1. He's falling like a stone in a pond.
Yeah, but we do stay green for the time being. That is the most important thing there, Aaron.
Yep, Espetit now, he may clear Ellis. Yes, Espetit clears the leader going into 3. So Espetit to the point. Ellis Jr. is going to fight back on the outside. One thing about the tires, if you can pin the driver to the inside, it takes more tires. Are we going to go 3 wide? We're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. Espetit wisely backs out. You don't want to be in the middle going into turn 1. Adam Blocker 3rd to 1st on the straightaway.
Yeah, let's get a replay of that one, shall we? Here we go. Down towards turn number 1. Here we are. A look from up above. Oof. That was close in towards turn number 1. And you're right. Espetit taking a bold move then. Not to battle for the race lead, Aaron.
Yeah, and Blocker's lead was short-lived as already he falls back to 2nd, soon to be 3rd. This is just incredible stuff. Blocker, though, going to come back to the inside and thinking about the end game, guys. Where do you want to be on the white flag? I think you could win this race maybe as far back as 4th, this draft is amazing as long as you have the tires underneath you.
More importantly, Randy, when do you want to pitch? Because 40 laps to go, that pit window opens up in 8 laps time.
It's a bit of an interesting situation, isn't it? You could potentially come down early. That might get you a little bit of an advantage if they're the caution. I think it depends on your track position, Will. If you're in this lead group, I think the pit window opens on the early side with 32, 33 laps to go because you can come down pit road and maintain that lead lap. But right now, if you're a little bit deeper in the field, if you're, say, a John Downing and AJ Burton, maybe even an Andrew Kinsella, who's going to have to make 2 stops basically compared to everyone else after that little bit of a hiccup with a black flag. Josh Chin, a close moment there with Kevin Ellis Jr., who's gotten shuffled back to 4th. But if you're a little bit deeper in the field, you need to stay out late because, of course, if you're about 3 to 4 seconds back, Will, you cannot maintain lead lap status after you pit as Ellis Jr. looks to make a move on to Tanner Watkins.
Yep, so that's the battle going on for 3rd place on track right now. There's your top 8 at the bottom of your screen. Less than 100 miles to go, Aaron.
And anybody in the top 8 can win this race. Timing of the pits are going to be important. If you do pit early, as Randy said, you're going to want... has contact. That might have messed up the front wing. Oh, no, for Ellis.
Does that Chin have damage?
That was very, very close to taking out a quarter, if not more, of our front leaders. Got away with one there. Ellis Jr. sticks that car to the inside. A little bit of a wiggle in turn 3. Might be a little bit of damage. Chin looks okay. As Ellis Jr. puts a car in the wall, we have trouble off of turn 4.
Liam Quinn, yellow. Yellow, yellow, yellow. Here we go.
Quinn.
Replay.
Have to wonder if there was damage on Ellis, which caused that car to push up. Although as wide as Liam Quinn is, when you're on the inside, you really don't have a depth perception of how far that car is. So that's a car coming up, car coming down, but very frustrating for Liam Quinn, guys, because he had worked so hard with Joshua Chin to build that track position, that leapfrogging. When you work 2 hours for something, as we had an incident after the yellow again, very similar. Liam Quinn put his car out. It looks like Bud Weiser and AJ Burton have issues after the yellow, so a secondary incident once more.
And Randy, drivers on pit road.
Yeah, drivers on pit road. This is going to be standard. I don't know if I like this because you can't make it to the end from here. I'm trying to see what the secondary incident was. What was it was Budweiser, and who was that other car? AJ Burton. I'm not sure. Were they trying to dodge Liam Quinn?
And Liam Quinn was came out and then tried to get back into the pits.
I'm sorry, he's a friend, but that's embarrassing there from Liam. He just needs to tow the car. That car is absolutely destroyed. There's no way you're getting repairs. He just cuts down in front of traffic like that. Liam Quinn just took out 2 cars after his incident. I'm sorry.
One thing that's always worth talking about here, Randy, is that people often think that they often get embarrassed and they often get emotional after they're involved in a wreck in this event. And then they think, okay, the car's drivable, I'll bring it on towards pit road. But Liam Quinn, that was not the case.
Yeah, 100%. There was no reason for him to ever consider doing that. The race off of pit road is now happening. But yeah, that was one of the more, let's say, forgettable moments, I think, for Liam's career in terms of that regard. Interestingly enough, Kevin Ellis Jr., despite being involved in the incident, he comes off of pit road 3rd. So involved with a couple bits of contact, Kevin Ellis, he might just have something up his sleeve. He comes out in 3rd place here with about 35 some odd laps to go. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. But a part of a couple interesting moments late, that of course big incident with Liam Quinn off of 4, and that initial moment that we talked about that we saw with Josh Chin, where I have to say Kevin just sort of turned in really, really early and drove into the side of Josh, in my opinion. It'll be interesting to see if Kevin can even hold on to this up here.
There are 36 laps to go in the 2018 iRacing Indianapolis 500. We'll be back in a moment. Oh, what an interesting race it has been so far. And we still have ourselves over 30 laps to go. We've just been talking about this one as we went on commercial here. What happens next? Because Marcus Jensen leads this race, but here's the interesting thing here. He is on a stint of 13 laps so far. That is 12 laps longer than most people ahead of him. The pace car has its lights turned off. That means we go back to green flag racing, this time by in the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Randy Jensen doesn't want a caution now. He wants one about lap number 185.
Yeah, he wants a lap. He wants a caution, but I think any caution more or less helps him. He wants a yellow so he can maintain this sort of position. Staying out gives him track position that he wouldn't be able to pick up anywhere else, as he's going to get on at green flag back here on the iRacing Indy 500 with about 33 laps to go.
Yep, so Marcus Jensen Burst Esports then leads the way right now. Austin SPT right behind. We've got close racing behind. And well, Aaron, the first question is, can we go green to the end?
I don't know if we can, but we did have several cars come in and top off. 32 laps has been the most we've seen. 34 to go. That would be asking a lot, as we are going to have a lead change going into turn 3, so it is game on up front.
The thing is also, Aaron, in terms of Marcus Jensen, he's got 14 laps in terms of those tyres. That is about the drop-off point when those tyres fall to pieces. One would argue that Jensen now has himself not only old tyres, not only a lighter fuel load, he has got to pray and hope that things go his own way.
Yeah, that was a very big gamble, almost the blind gamble, I would say. But I think we're seeing an interesting thing here. Espati had a run. He's not. Let's watch the lap times and see if we are going to be running the same times, because it could be, I think somebody can stretch this to the end. So you do not want to be the leader, which here we go. Lead change as Marcus Jensen's going to look to the inside. I think this is a strategy move by Ellis. You do not want to be the leader right now.
Yeah, and Randy, the important thing then is everyone's playing follow the leader right now, because they are thinking, okay, we might be able to make it to the end, but we have to save fuel. And now we're back to the 2011 Indianapolis 500, when you don't want to necessarily get, and there we are. There is Kevin Ellis Jr. saying, okay, I get right up behind you, but I'm not going to pass you. This can slow the entire pace down, because Jensen can just lift off the throttle himself right now. And as a consequence of that, he can slow the entire pack down by about 0.3 of a second per lap.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is that everyone's going to be saving fuel right now, trying to make that extra lap. The question has to be is who's going to hit their fuel delta first, potentially turn things up full rich. You might even be experimenting right now with the other fuel trim settings. Typically, you won't see drivers run the sort of leaned out fuel trim settings. That's not usually worth it in the sim, but with as powerful as the draft has been today, you might go to setting 2 just to see if it saves you any gas, run a couple of laps, see if it helps your fuel number. If it doesn't, put it back to full rich and do it the old-fashioned way, just lifting off the throttle in the slipstream. But drivers are going to be trying everything they can right now to save as much gas as they can. And I have to say that if this ends up being a fuel save race, the driver to watch is that driver who runs in that 5th spot, Joshua Chin. He's already won one race earlier this season with the SCO 10 hours of Suzuka. He was the only driver. He managed to stretch a couple fuel stints 2 laps longer than anyone else did that entire run. Josh Chin is potentially the driver to watch to be able to save gas if this thing goes green to the end, and if that is indeed the plan.
Adam Blocker was battling it out then with Jeff Drake that last time by Aaron, and it looked mighty, mighty close.
That was almost a replay of our first incident we had that took out a good chunk of this field. You get that run to the outside while the car on the inside is coming up very close. To Randy's point, the 2 drivers have had the best fuel mileage have been Chin and Blocker. Another thing to note, Miller, Walters, Bryant, and Michael Chin and Rick Music pitted on the 1 to green. So that's another thing to note. They may have a little bit more in the tank to, if everybody else has to dial back, they may may be able to go a little bit faster. Everybody's best friend right now, though, is Marcus Jensen. He's our race leader. Nobody wants to pass him. Jensen's getting laps led just like the Belgian driver, I can't remember, that was leading with about 4 to go in the 2011 race.
Bertrand Baguette.
Exactly. Look, everybody's like, oh, we've never heard of him. He was leading, but he had to pit. He didn't have a chance. That's the position Marcus Jensen is right now. Everybody behind him might. We're not saying they might be able to make it. We know Jensen can't, but Jensen, though, is hurting his own cause by leading this race.
Yeah, and Jensen has to pit in about 12 laps time. That will give him 16 laps worth of fuel to go to the end. Other people around him, they may well have to pit. And I will say one thing, you can save 2 to 3 laps here, Randy, of fuel if you know how to do so. But at the same time, for people like Josh Chin, Alan Blocker, Jeff Drake, Andrew Kinsella, Martin Miller, Bradley Walters, they have got to get themselves into position first and then think about saving fuel.
It's it's definitely one of those things where you need to think about getting yourself a little bit forward up the field. And I think those guys that came down pit road on that second kind of opportunity they had, those are the guys that need to come down pit road and maybe, that came down pit road. They need to get aggressive and end up picking up some spots. Because one of the things you can do, Will, is that if you have a fuel advantage, you need to try to make those guys that are saving fuel and you potentially have that advantage on, you need to try to make them work and need to try to make them burn stuff up. If you just run single file like this, everyone can pretty much just save fuel at their leisure. So if you're someone right now, when you hit your fuel mileage mark, when you get the economy you need to go and need to start making people run side by side, maybe trim up and run a higher fuel trim, go full rich and try to burn their fuel up and force them to make a mistake and come down pit road.
Let's give you a little bit of then RaceSpotTV fan immersion here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. On board with Tanner Watkins right now, P number 4. As he's trying to close down Austin SVT, your top 6 drivers are separated by 1 second right now, Randy, but that's still a big gap here at IMS.
We got one driver blinking. Who is that? I see 2 Sadie cars pulling off on towards pit road. I'm trying to get word of who that is. I see Bradley Walters on pit road, maybe someone else as well.
Chin's in.
Said Michael Chin?
Yep, Michael Chin's in.
And they pitted on 1 to green, so does this mean, even if you save, you can't make it?
Although Michael Chin, a long pit stop actually. He, I think, sped on pit road. He's actually out of the car. So, Bradley Walters, let's have a look at him instead in the Saudi Sim Auto Sport car. Out of the way, 7 seconds. Well, that's good to the end, but now he has to hope this race stays green. Let's keep an eye on him and the drivers around.
2 more Sadie cars.
You've got the opportunity, Randy, if you pit now, to stay in the lead lap.
Yes, you do. Rick Music comes down pit road. Who else is that? I believe it's Simon Bryant on pit road as well. Trying to get confirmation about who that is. Yes, so it's Simon Bryant and Rick Music. They come down pit road. So the Sadie cars are pulling their strategy trigger here early, and that's, I think, a good call because, like you said, Will, you're going to have a short fuel fill, which means the pit stop will be as quick as it possibly can be, and you will maintain lead lap status. And if you come out with teammates and draft partners, you guys can just go bonkers to the end of the race if it goes green.
This has forced Kevin Ellis's junior hand. He has passed our race leader and has taken the lead. So Ellis might think he's not good to the end. So if he keeps saving fuel while those other cars are full rich, he will come out behind him. So Ellis Jr. now has taken the lead and is running away, whereas everybody else is still behind our former leader in Jensen. So this would make me think other cars are still playing the fuel game. Kevin Ellis Jr. has now gone to the speed game, knowing he's going to have to stop. Either that or he thinks he can make it to the end, which I doubt.
And that's the thing here, Aaron. We love the month of May because of this, as Marcus Jensen is passed by Austin Espartee and Tanner Watkins on the exit of turn number 4. There's a driver on towards pit road. That is Kevin Ellis Jr. He is on towards the lane, so he comes in and he'll make what will be his final pit stop of the day. And now, Aaron, you've got to make that choice. Do you come in early and just go like hell, or do you come in late and try and save fuel?
If you can't make it, you got to pit now, because if we get a yellow, these cars are going to need to pit for tires. With so few cars left and you know people are going to pit for tires, you got to come in as soon as you can. You can't let those cars run full speed. So I would come in now, because if the yellow comes out, just like we see on road courses all the time, you get cycled to the back. And late race yellows here are so typical inside the final 20.
Well, Marcus Jensen has run 28 laps on this stint so far, so he still has to make another pit stop, Randy. For Marcus Jensen, he's been hoping people will get ahead of him, but it's not happened at all.
Well, he needs a caution is what he needs. I don't think it really matters whether or not people end up out in front of him or not. He just needs a yellow flag to fly to be able to put him in the right situation. I like the call from Marcus. When you're in the iRacing Indy 500 late in the race, you need to make calls that put you in good positions to potentially win this race. Unfortunately, I just don't think things are going to fall his way, and that's the way it goes. He comes down on towards pit road, and Austin Espartee was thinking of following him, but he's going to stay out. Austin Espartee, he cuts down to the inside, and he's going to intentionally drop back a few spots. Where is he going to come back up in line? He's going to try to get in just in front of Chin. And we're starting to see some of this teamwork from this sort of absolute zero power slide Banshee group. A lot of that teamwork and a lot of those friendships are starting to go away. These guys are starting to get really aggressive with one another.
And at this stage of the race as well, as Jensen overshoots then in that number 28 Burst Esports car, Aaron. At this stage of the race, all bets are off with less than 20 to go.
Yeah, we're seeing 3 different strategies here. Jensen was going to have a longer pit stop. I like his strategy. It was probably the best chance to get a top 5. Didn't pan out, missed the stall, but we still have people trying to make it the rest of the way. The lap times are down to 43 seconds a lap for our leaders. That's almost 3 seconds off the pace. So if they do this the rest of the way, the cars that pitted may be able to come around. Kevin Ellis is only 29 seconds behind, 15 laps to go. If he gains 2 seconds a lap, he is there. So my goodness, Will, what started out as a long green flag run that had some sort of monotony to it, we now have 3 different strategies in play.
Andrew Kinsella leads this motor race right now, but Tanner Watkins is right behind him. They're doing 43 and 44 laps here, and that is absolutely crazy. They are fuel saving.
15 miles an hour slower down the straight.
Yeah, they are absolutely fuel saving to the edge here. Kinsella and Watkins, the 2 teammates, they're thinking, okay, we can work together, because you've also got yourself Espartee from Team Talent in 3rd place right now. Maybe he will help us out. Espartee is not doing anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers in your top 5 are on this alternate strategy. They, in our opinion, cannot make it to the end of our ultimate fuel saving here, Andy.
Yeah, that's really the big thing. The thing is, though, is that they better be able to get very close to their fuel number really quick, because it's 3 seconds a lap they're losing. You only lose about 30 seconds down pit road. A little bit of contact. These guys are getting aggressive despite the fuel saving. Guys, what are you doing? You're in fuel trim like 9. Why are you being so aggressive with one another? 3 wide towards the tail end of this lead group. They're going to somehow be able to hold on to it. They're like in the Indy Lights cars right now with the top speed that they're getting. Josh Chin cycles into the 3rd spot. I'm not sure how anyone lives through that, but they need to be able to get to their fuel number and then be able to richen up their fuel mix once again very quickly, because it's only a 30-second delta down the pit road. Of course, you still have to count the slowdown and the getting back up to speed. That's going to make that about 5 to 6 seconds on top of that. However, I'd rather lose 46 seconds to be able to go fall out than do this as Austin Espatee. What is Espatee doing? Going back and forth like that. Espatee is going to cause an incident if he keeps swerving like that. That's a little over the top, and he's going to look to the middle of the racetrack through 1 and 2 as Josh Chin gets a run.
They need to find a way. Aaron, you go.
Well, this is the most bizarre race I think I've ever seen. People do not want to lead this race. They're almost slam blocking, trying to get the people to go around. This is akin to a marathon at the end where you're trying to force the other person into the lead, or maybe the middle of a Tour de France stage where you don't want to lead. Oh, this is one of the most bizarre yet entertaining as contact that shoves Adam Blocker. They are not playing nice at 210 miles an hour. Typically we're seeing 230, but don't expect at this rate a yellow could happen. These tempers are high.
Thing is here, Randy, as well, most of these guys are teammates, so why are they fighting this hard?
Because they're a bunch of idiots. I don't know. It's not them that's fighting hard. It's really Austin Espatee, in my opinion, that's causing all these issues. He just keeps swerving back and forth. And if it wasn't for a couple of other people swerving out of his way, we would have had 2 or 3 cautions by now. So I think it's just Austin Espatee who's really causing all these problems. They're constantly going 2 and 3 wide because of him as Josh Chin cycles to the race lead. And now as they work their way down this straightaway, one driver we need to keep an eye on, one of the people we saw come down pit lane the second time, Martin Miller cycles into your race lead, and he's running about a second per lap quicker than these guys. So Martin Miller likely has an easier fuel number that he has to hit, and he now leads this 500, and it looks to me like he's trimmed up because he's starting to run away.
This could be. This is almost identical to what we saw in the 100th running of the Indy 500. Late yellow, cars pit on the 1 to green. Miller might just Rossi this race.
Randy, talk about it.
It's insane. Martin Miller might be in a fantastic situation. You have Josh Chin in third. I believe it's Adam Blocker who cycled into the second spot. No, it's Austin Espatee who cycled into the second spot. Josh Chin third, Adam Blocker fourth. Kinsella rounds out your top 5. Then you get Tanner Watkins a further couple of tenths of a second back, and then Drake, Simpson, Burton, and Kevin Ellis Jr. So despite pitting, Kevin Ellis is only 7 seconds off the race lead, going a full 2 seconds per lap quicker. That said, these guys seem to have trimmed up just a little bit. They found 3 seconds that last trip around the racetrack. Fuel number's been hit. I think it's on from here.
Was it hit, or it was Ellis Jr. coming up as fast as he was, now only being 7.6? It was 6 laps ago we were saying he was 29 seconds behind. That means he was in almost exiting 2 when the field was in turn 1. Now only 7.6. That forced everybody else's hand. Miller now on the gas. Ellis Jr. this time still gained 0.6 of a second with 10 to go. That's not going to be enough if Miller keeps the speed. Question is, does Espatee have the fuel? He's forced everybody else to go. So this race now between Espatee and Miller. Miller has 1 extra yellow flag lap fuel more than Espatee, and Miller was at the end of that train longer than anyone else. The further back you are, the more fuel you save.
Kevin Ellis Jr. right now has the best position on track because everyone else in front of him has to pit potentially one more time. Martin Miller, 27 laps on the stint. The same for Espatee. Josh Chin, 26 laps on the stint. Adam Blocker, Kinsella, Watkins, 27 laps on the stint. As already we've got people on towards pit road coming soon, as Chad Simpson has allowed Kevin Ellis Jr. past him. Kevin Ellis Jr. right now is the fastest driver on track, and he has the opportunity right now, Randy, of just aggressively pushing people out the way.
It's definitely the opportunity he might have, and seems like he's going to be doing that as he's gotten aggressive. He did a 39.7 that last lap. That might be his quickest lap of the race. Indeed, it was. So Kevin Ellis Jr., he's out there on a light fuel load in the slipstream, putting down some bonkers lap times, trying to reel in this lead group. And these guys have picked up the pace through the 40.5, 40.6 through about most of this group. A couple of them in the 41, so they're still fuel saving just a little bit. Martin Miller leads. Josh Shin has cycled into the second spot. Austin Espetee's third, with Blocker and Watkins rounding out your top 5. They're coming to 7 laps to go.
Espetee must be short. That's why he's fallen back to third and fallen even further back. Miller extends the lead. He's running 40.6s. If Kevin Ellis Jr. can keep running this pace, they may meet each other on the white flag lap. Let's see what the lead is this time. It was 5.5. It is now a half second. So right now, Ellis Jr. is going to come up about 2 laps short, but the further he gets up front, the bigger the draft. If he can click off some more 39.7s, which is just the insane speed in race, he may be able to do it.
And here's the thing
this
here.
is shaping up good.
Here's the thing, Aaron. Austin Espeteee right now is 1.2 seconds slower than his fastest lap of the race. Now, of course, draft is a factor. Traffic is a factor. So many things are a factor. But Austin Espeteee is holding on for dear life. I think a lot of these drivers will try and basically run it to the last lap and see what happens. They are not going to try and give away an iRacing Indy 500 victory until they know they can't.
Shades of 1999, Robbie Gordon. Robbie Gordon came into the pits coming to the white. If we get a yellow in lap 197, the race is over. You can coast your way to victory. So that's another thing to keep in mind. These drivers, they don't care about points. This is all about the Indy 500 iRacing victory. The only thing that matters is the victory. Miller now, we play the weight game. Leads down to 4.5.
He's broken away. He's broken away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, he that 1 lap pitting has allowed him to go. I think he's in the good. He stayed in the back of that 8-car train for 20 or so laps, which allowed him to save as much fuel as possible. And coming in on that 1 to green could be the difference and be one of the best wins potentially. Still has, we're working 196 at 200. Wow, guys.
But the thing
car on
is,
the wall, Tanner J. Watkins in turn 3.
Oh,
in the short
my
chute,
word.
big contact with the wall. We might have just ended this race under caution.
We
He's
got
up
yellow.
in the air. Yellow flies, and I think Martin Miller just won the 2018 iRacing Indy 500.
we've never had a race end under yellow here in the iRacing Indy 500, but there is Tanner Watkins with 5 laps to go, hitting the wall in that number 21 machine, turning upside down, and well, that means that Martin Miller will come to 4 to go. The pace car is ahead. 1 lap at the most here, Randy.
One lap at the most, but I don't think it's going to be happening. It's going to be very, very tight. I think this race just got ended under yellow for the first time in a number of years.
I think we're going to have a green and white together. If we get the 2 to green this time, 1 to green on 199, we go green on lap 200.
Aaron, we've never had a race end under yellow.
Let's I want to see Martin Miller win this race on the strategy. As commentators, we don't play favorites. It would be cool to see the way he won, but at the same time, streaks are meant to keep going. We got to end this race under green.
Okay, let's keep an eye out then on the pace car. Working itself out of corner number 4 and roll. Randy, again, we've never seen a caution this late into a race. We are now thinking this could be a new. First of all, another new driver winning the iRacing Indy 500. And secondly, the first time a driver's ever won this race under yellow.
Could be. It's going to be very, very close. It depends on what the command is the drivers get right here, right now. The drivers already know if they're going to be getting a restart or not. We're going to have to find out in about 1 lap's time if we get a restart on lap number 200. And if that's the case, everything's going to get shooken up. Now, everything is, fuel doesn't matter. Everyone can make it to the end 100%. The question is, those guys that came down pit road and got fuel, did they take tires? If they got tires, there might be a big advantage for the likes of Kevin Ellis Jr., the Bradley Walters and Simon Bryants of the world, even on just a 1 lap restart.
The issue is that Kevin Ellis Jr. is down in P number 7. 6 drivers in one lap. I mean, that's
Demerit
Ayrton
chat
Senna
saying it's not
levels
over. They
of
got
amazing.
2 to go at the line.
What?
Demerit saying they just got 2 to go.
So there will
Which
be a
means that we'll be
one-lap
getting a
restart.
And every restart, Will and Randy, every restart, the leader has been a sitting duck on the back straightaway. Do you want to be in Miller's position?
Well, you say that, but both Miller, Chin, and Kinsella all know their way around this racetrack. I mean, let's not forget Baku last year. We had Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. They had their incident. But that's because they both know just how precise the restart zone is here, Randy. So Nigel Mansell didn't win the Indy 500 because he was not that good on restarts compared to all the American drivers. Martin Miller has been a stalwart of the IndyCar series for over 6 years now. He might have something in the bag.
He very well might. It's going to be difficult, though. It's going to be the most aggressive blocking that you've ever seen. You have a lot of hungry people out in front. Martin Miller, been one of the constants of the IndyCar community for a better part of a decade. Josh Chin has finished second in this race numerous times. Andrew Kinsella is in third. He's a bit of a young gun and is the Sim Racing Observer's pick to win this race. Austin Espatee has a lot of talent. Adam Blocker, Jeff Drake, and you know Kevin Ellis Jr. He'd love to wave the flag for the variety of iRacing Pro Series drivers on the iRacing service and win this Indy 500 here as well. Lights are out on the safety car. 2.5 miles will decide this thing.
Okay, Aaron, give me a winner.
Winner, I'm going to go with Kinsella. I'm going to say P3, the draft. If he gets a restart, which, I mean, right now, for all we know, Rick Music sitting in 11th could win this race. I don't like Miller's position. The amount of blocking we're going to see is huge. If you're in P2 and the leader blocks, do you stay in it? As long as we are green to the line, this race will not end under yellow. We got it. The leader has to take the white. If that happens, iRacing will keep this race green to the end. Anybody on the lead lap can win this race. I don't think what we're about to see we have ever seen before. This is going to be nuts.
Randy, you got 10 seconds. Give me your winner.
I think Will Vinson's vocal cords are going to be the big loser at the end of this 2.5 mile lap, but I think it's going to be that one of Josh Chin who brings it home.
Okay, then, here we go. One more lap remaining on the 2018 iRacing Indianapolis 500. That's it. 2.5 miles remain in this event. 2.5 miles between immortality and being the second place driver that no one ever remembers. It's Martin Miller from Josh Trin, from Andrew Kinsella, Austin Espatee, and Adam Blocker, with Jeff Drake, Kevin Ellis Jr., Bradley Walters, Simon Bryant, and Marcus Jensen running out your top 10. Here we are, waiting for the green flag for the final time here. White flag and green flag are in the air. One more lap to go at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We go on board with the driver of Martin Miller. What can he do? Through turn number 1, Joshua Chin looking down to the inside already as they work themselves through turn number 2. Now it's that long run down the back straightaway. Andrew Kinsella worked himself down to the inside of the driver of Joshua Chin. Maybe they're going to go 3 wide. Look at this. In towards the final couple of corners. Joshua Chin, Andrew Kinsella, Martin Miller's turned around. Joshua Chin will stay on. It's him and Andrew Kinsella. A drag race to a line. It's a new winner. But who's it going to be at the line? It will be just about Joshua Chin winning here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Contact at the line. They wrecked behind, but it was all about Joshua Chin and Kinsella. What a race. Perhaps the closest iRacing Indy 500 finish we have seen, in a lap that Kinsella's going to replay 1,000 times, wondering what he could have done. Joshua Chin's going to cherish this moment for a very long time.
It was a photo finish once again, 13 1,000ths of a second. Let's have another look and let's pause it at the line, right, Randy? Wait, that's just after the line. And you can see the two come together. Oh, my word. It was so close. As we have a look past the line, Joshua Chin wins the iRacing Indy 500, one of the most unluckiest guys in the IndyCar community, has now finally won the big one.
He wasn't going to let himself get bullied out of this one. You saw that final lap. All of those guys that you saw going 3 wide, 4 wide, working this week, this entire month for this race, 3 wide into turn 3. Miller got forced into the wall, and Kinsella and Josh Chin aggressive side by side through 3 and 4. No one was going to give an inch, and this time it's Josh Chin who ends up giving the wheel to someone and dropping them off into the wall, and he ends up winning here at Indianapolis. But Andrew Kinsella, after scraping the wall off of 4, I didn't think it was going to be nearly that close. Kinsella must have been really trimmed out to make that gap 13/100ths of a second the way it was.
Yeah, let's have a look then at the replay coming to the line. Here's a look. We're going to pause here, and there is the gap. And look how close that one is, Aaron. I mean, we are looking at basically less than a third of a car's width. But Joshua Chin joined one of the most illustrious groups in all of sim racing. And I'll tell you one thing. I have commentated on Josh Chin for so many years. He has been one of the most unluckiest guys in sim racing. He's done it.
One of the unluckiest, yet one of the best well-round racers, discipline-wise. Put him in a GT kart, put him in anything, he's going to be quick. Unlucky, though, but one of the hardest working racers, one of the cleanest racers I've ever had the opportunity to race with, and he finally pulls off the big one here in a lap that I think is... I mean, you want the essence of what iRacing is about. That green and white was it. What a almost ambassador of a winner of this race in Joshua Chin.
Okay, let's run through your final race results then from this, the 2018 iRacing Indianapolis 500. And Joshua Chin wins it at the end by 13/1000ths of a second. Yes, of course, we had to get ourselves another photo finish. Andrew Consider 13/1000ths of a second back. Jeff Drake in 3rd. Kevin Ellis Jr. in 4th. Austin Esparti in 5th. Simon Bryant in 6th. Bradley Walters, Marky Jensen, AJ Burton, and Chad Simpson round out your top 10. Worth noting, Team Chimera have 1 car inside your top 10. Absolute Zero, Power Slide, they have 1 car inside your top 10. Banshee X have 1 car inside your top 10. As the Apex Racing UK, as the Team Talent, Saturday Sim Autosport have 2 cars inside your top 10. Burst Esports and Logical Vortex Sim Racing each have 1 car. And Randy, in my opinion, that sums up the diversity of this, the iRacing IndyCar community.
It definitely does. It's a diverse group. Even though some of those guys have been working together, you see the variety of team names in that top 10. A couple of them put some cheeky names in there. They might belong to an Absolute Zero or Power Slide and the like, but variety of team mates in that top 10. And the other thing we have to think about, Will, not only is this a new winner, but this breaks the Broken Arrow streak of the last 2 years. We saw Matt Pavelski in 2016, and then, of course, Christopher Demerit last year in 2017. And Broken Arrow, they have a very, let's say, downward trend in terms of drivers in this race today. And because of that, Chris Merritt goes out early. Broken Arrow has a very downer year in 2018 for the iRacing Indy 500.
Yeah, Aaron, Martin Miller again comes so close but loses out in the last 3 laps of this motor race. And, well, Banshee X, again, not able to get the big victory. Sadie Simsport in P number 11, and then Sadie Grande Bianco in P number 12. But Martin Miller, that curse continues for him.
And you want to talk about curse. If that yellow came out 3 seconds later, that race would have been over. The yellow came out before he got to the line, so the pace car picked him up immediately. So you want to talk about curse? We're talking less than 3 seconds. I would need to go back and look at exactly where he was when the yellow flew. But had he crossed those yards of bricks, the yard of bricks on lap 197, we would be talking about him as the winner and a race ending under yellow. But the curse continues.
There's the remainder of your top 20 up on your screen right now. And then the rest of the results here today from this, the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Well, UCF had an undefeated season in college football in 2017. And one of their alumni has just won the iRacing Indianapolis 500. Joshua Chin will be with us live on RaceSpotTV next. Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher Demerit at the line. Nine years, 9 winners, 9 different champions of the iRacing Indianapolis 500. Our telecast today has been brought to you by Huxenveld Engineering, the official partner of this, the iRacing Indianapolis 500 on RaceSpotTV. Well, a new champion on Victory Road, Joshua Chin. And well, Josh, I've seen you get so close so many times, but you've done it. You are now an Indy 500 champion.
It feels amazing. I got to thank everyone, Powerslide, Absolute Zero, Banshee X, Team Chimera. It's been 5 years of running this race, and finally have it all come in place. It's awesome.
We just see the gap there at the line between yourself and the driver of Andrew Kinsella, and it was literally a third of a car length. But the race here today has been intense. The first 15 laps, pack racing. The last 15 laps, it's how hard can you hold on in this one. How's it been for you, though, here today?
Well, the start was pretty entertaining. Starting 26th, I was basically running in hard mode for the whole week of qualifying. Didn't realize we were doing something different with setup. So I started 26th in the race today. I was hoping to just make it in a top split, honestly, for the whole last day, sitting at work, watching the times change every hour. But the start was really entertaining because lap 2, basically everything kind of kicked off in front of me, and I just don't, well, either I'm going to sit here and survive, or this is going to be the end of it, and I probably deserved it. But got through it. Sucks that Chris got taken out like that. It kind of almost guaranteed we were going to get a different winner at that point, and just clawed the whole race back, getting back up there. Me and Liam sat there and swap drafted, and it worked beautifully. We made up basically 15, 16 spots in the first 2 runs, and we were right back up there in top 10 after that.
Let's talk about the actual qualifications here, because it is the tightest qualifying that we've ever seen in this series. And, well, it's been a hard run to get into the field in the first place. The emotions, what was it like for you on that Friday night? Thinking, am I in or am I out?
Once the clock hit 7:41 and I knew the last session was over and it said P31, it was great. I kind of did a little fist bump and said, yeah, all right, we're in. Let's go win it now. And I guess it worked out pretty well.
Most important question, what type of milk are you drinking?
Chocolate milk for Nigel Marniff.
Come on, you need to have orange juice like a true traditionalist.
Oh, come on.
No. We're not doing that. Blame Randy for this.
Although, I am going to ask you 2 more questions. The first one, of course, 365 days away to next iRacing Indy 500. 2-time champion?
I hope so. They always say the first one's the hardest. I think that's how that goes. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to next year.
And also, who gets it done for your team on what has been an incredible event? And actually, I will say, possibly the biggest event that Team Chimera's ever won.
Yeah, I think this kind of beats that SEO race from a few months ago by a little bit. Gotta thank everyone, Absolute Zero, Powerslide Motorsports, Banshee X, and Team Chimera. It's been not just 1 month of support, it's been months leading up to this. Indy Elite's been a great run with this team too, and I think it's paying off dividends pretty well. We all ran pretty well today. Outside of some of the wrecks and whatnot, we probably would have locked out the top 10, I think.
Well, Joshua Chin, your winner here in the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Granny Chinnoth has got P number 2. Andrew consider he missed out by 13 1,000ths of a second.
Yeah, I stood by with Andrew. Andrew, what a run for you all day, kind of up and down the field. You got a penalty with about, I believe, 40 to 50 laps to go that set you right back on the back foot, but did a good job to hound back and make something of it. Side by side with Josh through turn 4, you each made a little bit of contact. You got forced into the wall, and you still were able to make about make the gap just 100th of a second at the line. How was your ride on board for that final lap of that one? It looked crazy from up here.
That was wild. I knew coming in, I had experience with the Elite 500 starting out front, that out front was not where you wanted to be. Second and third basically were in control. So I was just looking to put the car in the middle of the track, draft behind Josh, let Josh pass Martin, and then we went into turn 3 side by side. It got a little bit hairy. Austin stuck a nose in there at one point, but we came out the other side, and man, yeah, I was that close. But hats off to Josh. He drove a great race, much cleaner than I was. As you said, I was all over the field, up and down. That penalty really set me back, but I was able to drive through the field. Got a lucky caution there at the end to reset the order with 1 to go, and I'll take a second. This is my second year in the top split of the 500, so second place to a guy like Josh, you got to be able to take that and build on it for next year.
And now talking about this race, I know one of the big talking points coming up to this was the qualifying setups. I know you guys were really struggling on that fourth lap. How is the race setup in comparison? Because a lot of times those who struggle making the tires last deep into those qualifying runs may struggle with the race setup just because it's such a long sort of formatting comparison. How's your guys' race setup today compared to qualifying? Because you guys pretty much dominated the race. All the other teams that qualified well and were quick, like the Vortex, Sadie, Apex, most of them pretty much nowhere to be seen the entirety of the event. You guys think you have the best race setup of everyone?
Yeah, I would say we had the best long run setup, to be honest. We didn't have one lap speed in any of our sets. We could draft really well. We could follow in multiple cars in a nice long line, and we were good like that, but we didn't have the one lap speed. But man, our tires, we went the opposite way from qualifying. Our tires lasted and lasted and lasted, and I think that was the difference for us, is we were just able to turn in consistent lap after consistent lap, and as other teams were falling off and their tires were going away, ours were staying pretty good.
Well, congratulations to you, Andrew, on the second place finish. Phenomenal running. Great to see you bounce back the way you did after that penalty deep into the race. Who gets it done for that number 26 Team Chimera looking car that isn't actually Team Chimera?
Everyone at Absolute Powerslide, Chimera, Banshee, Aero X. I think that's all of the affiliations we have. Everyone put in a huge effort for this race, and it showed with the results both in qualifying and in the race. And of course, shout out to Jake Sperry. I think he jinxed me, and if he hadn't have picked me to win, then maybe I would have had that extra 13 thousandths of a second there.
Well, maybe, just maybe. But regardless, it's a fantastic run. And Will, I think you're stood by with the meme meister who memed himself on the podium, Mr. Jeff Drake.
I am, but before I do that, Andrew, did you have a RaceSpotTV logo on your car?
I did not.
There you are. That's why you
could have been 2/10 clear. 2/10 of a second clear right there.
Yeah, it's
well, then you got to get me one.
Here you are. We've got Jeff Drake. He comes home in third place here today. And well, Jeff, you talked to us before the race and you said it was going to be crazy. It was crazy. You come home on the podium, however. Yes, some of your teammates, Martin Miller in particular, Matt Cook, didn't have the best end to this event. But representing Banshee X, how do you feel right now?
Oh, man, it's nuts because, first of all, Martin did, all of us, and Chin would admit it too, a huge favor with, going out and leading when we were all checking up. So that was just a huge favor done by Martin. We can't thank him enough. But when we look at, the entire Banshee spectrum, along with our sister teams, representing Banshee as the top finisher is pretty cool. But, more important than that, we got the win today among our sister teams. And, all credit goes to Chin for that.
The racing was intense here today. How was the kind of racing between lap number 10 and lap number 20 of the stint when the tires started falling off?
Oh, well, mine was completely awful, and I was crying the entire time over the radio. But for me and Cook, we went to a different setup from last night's practice into this one. And so we didn't have too much experience over this, but it was a lot tighter, and that's why I was kind of floating around from like 10th to 18th, I think it was, during the middle stint of the race. So for me, that was really bad. But, it eventually got a little bit better, but it was always something that you didn't look forward to. You cherish your time with the fresh tires.
Did you expect there to be a 100-lap plus green flag run here today?
I didn't expect it, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised given last night's shenaniganry where, we had 160 laps or something. Mm-hmm. But, I'm not too surprised when these things go green. We do have good drivers when, they actually show their skill set. But, I wanted that yellow, and I was happy when the first yellow after that stint came out. But, I wasn't too surprised, I guess.
Well, you got a teammate a partial teammate anyway, who wins the race here today. You got third place, Banshee X. Who gets it done for you?
Oh, well, first of all, I'd like to thank my mom. She gave birth to me, and without that, I wouldn't be here. On top of that, we have everyone that's over at Banshee X, and Chimera, Powerslide, Absolute Zero, and with a high emphasis on steel, and Matt Cook, they really busted their ass both with the qualifying setup and the race setup. Martin did absolutely fantastic work with both me and then Josh towards the end. But overall, just a huge team effort from my mom to Banshee to Chimera, and then Absolute Zero as well. And thank you guys for broadcasting. I'm sure it was very entertaining after watching back.
That's all right. Congratulations there to Jeff Drake coming home P number 3 here today. A couple more people that we want to talk to. Kevin Ellis Jr. comes home in 4th place, stood by with the Chinmeister.
Yep, the Chinmeister is here with Kevin Ellis Jr. Kevin, it's been a really good year for you. You've led some laps in a couple rounds of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and you put on another good show here in the iRacing Indy 500. You did the same thing last year. Unfortunately, had some late race contact late in the race, but managed to squeak out a top 4 here today. You spent most of the race pretty much not around many friends. A lot of the Power Slide and Banshee guys, a lot of your teammates at Apex and the people you're working with at Vortex, Sadie Cars as well, they kind of got shuffled back early. Any idea what happened to them early on? They led early and they were out in front early, but after the pit stop cycled through, seemed like they were all pretty much outside the top 10.
Just a few mistakes mostly for most of our guys. I know Michelli got a speeding penalty at one point, so yeah, I kind of lost all my friends on about halfway and just kind of had to try and run with those guys up the front there. It was kind of me versus the world at the end there, so I think we did a pretty good job to finish off P4. But yeah, ultimately I didn't really have many teammates up at the front, so I just had to try and hang on to Austin and Tanner, and I think it was Adam Blocker as well who was up there. So yeah, I just had to kind of hang on to those guys, and I could just hang within draft range to save a bit of fuel here and there, but ultimately the front end of our car just didn't really have the bite of those guys. I think we kind of lacked a bit in traffic today, so yeah, not really how much we could do. But yeah, overall I think today was, considering the circumstances, it was a pretty positive day.
Now, talking about that, you spent the better part of 120, 130 some odd laps, it felt like you said, about 1.5 to 2 seconds off those race leaders that we saw out in front, kind of the 2 to 3 people that were out there. How boring is it kind of being in that situation? Because you were sort of just on your own with no one really behind you and just that group just slightly up the road from you. Was it nice having an Indy 500 where you could get the bulk of the race gone, done, and dusted, not having to deal with a bunch of traffic and a bunch of swapping of positions, knowing you could just kind of log laps cleanly?
Yeah, it was a nice change from WCS, let's say that. Sometimes they can be a wee bit hectic. So yeah, I'd say it was more frustrating today. I think just getting a whiff of that draft and hitting 230, 231 in at the corner, and then as soon as I turned, there was just no front bite whatsoever, and no amount of weight jacket or ARBs seemed to fix that. So yeah, just had to kind of hang on to those guys, and I decided to pit early to try and undercut, but it just didn't quite have the speed because I was stuck about a second and a half off those guys. Everyone was pretty equal on pit road today, so there wasn't really any opportunity for me to pass. And of course, as soon as Austin and stuff came back out the pits, I already had 5 or 6 laps on my tyres, and that was them by their best. So I just had to, again, just got a massive wash of aero, and no amount of adjustments could really keep me with them. So yeah, it was quite a tough race in terms of trying to keep yourself motivated and stuff like that, but also it was quite easy in terms of not having to battle with anyone. So yeah, it was a kind of mixed day here and there.
Now, late on in the race, of course, we saw the strategy calls come into play, saw that entire group kind of go to trying to make it on fuel, and they ended up shifting, the full 3 seconds off the pace to stretch the fuel. You opted to come down pit road. Do you think if it went green, you would have been able to reel those guys in because they started to kind of tone it back up when you got about 6 to 7 seconds behind them? Or do you think that you were still just a little bit too far back, and having that one big group kind of working together was able to save them enough that you're probably likely couldn't have reeled them back in, at least for the win?
I think I might have caught the tail end of the pack, but in terms of actually getting through, unless they started running out of fuel on the last lap or two, I don't think I would have had. As I said, the front end of the car just wasn't good, and I'd trimmed the car right out when I came in for that pit stop, so all I could really do was just trim the car out, run some fast laps, and hope that they ran out of fuel. But yeah, we just didn't have the chassis nailed for the car, really. We were still adjusting it like 30 minutes before the race, so we were still tweaking here and there trying to find it, and ultimately, yeah, we just didn't quite nail it, unlike those guys. So yeah, I think I probably would have caught the group, but in terms of passing all of them and winning, I don't think that would have been possible. But we had to do something different. We weren't going to make it in the position that we were in. We tried saving behind Marcus, couldn't save enough, so I decided to go try and put the pressure on, make them burn some fuel. But as I said earlier, it's me against the world. They can all work together. I've got no one I can work with, so I was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place there.
Well done on the 4th place run tonight, Kevin. You looked pretty much phenomenal out there. Who gets it done for you guys at Apex?
Yeah, a lot of guys to thank here. We've got all the guys at Apex, David Strudd for spotting, Wallace Green for spotting today as well. We had two of them behind the wall doing all the fuel numbers for us. The guys from Coanda, Core, Burst Esports as well, Vortex, all those guys. They did a phenomenal effort, especially considering that a lot of us WCS guys, we've been really busy with the World Championship stuff, so we kind of came in late and tried to play catch up. But yeah, they've all done a fantastic job. Everyone who's involved in all the teams that we worked with today they definitely got it done for us. And of course, thanks to you guys for the broadcast as well.
Well, Kevin Ellis, it seems like, he would have liked to be a little bit further up, but I think overall, kind of being the best from his sort of tribe of teams and whatnot, likely happy to be the best finisher there in the top 5.
Yeah, and there's one interesting thing there is that they were talking about doing stuff right up to the marker in terms of the race. And that's the thing that I love about the iRacing Indianapolis 500 here, Randy, because there are people that will take the risk, not only right before the race itself, but during the race as well. I think we saw a lot of drivers from the likes of Apex Racing, from Banshee, from Team Chimera, from AeroX Racing, from Broken Arrow, from Vortex, all trying to do something a little bit different, not only at the start of the race, but in race as well.
Yeah, and that you have to do the sort of things when you're in a race like this. You have to make some risks, take some risks. And so one of the things that's so different from a variety of the other big events we get, like a lot of the road events, teams will basically have their setups pretty much done and dusted up to a few days before the race. And I might be like, oh, I found a little bit of speed. I may have found a 10th. But a lot of those changes, they don't have the sort of implications the way they do in a race like this. And in the sort of traffic that you get in the iRacing Indy 500 and the way the car is sort of changes with aero, in a lot of ways, it's trying to make the car run well when you have 8, 9, 10 cars out in front of you, which can be very difficult to try to figure out in traffic and for some of these teams that don't have a huge amount of members. Trying to find a setup that works well when you're deep in the pack as well as out in front and having speed. It's really the tricky point here at the Speedway.
Yeah, let's talk then to the driver in P number 5, Austin Espartee. Well, Austin, it was a tough race for you here today, but you got it in P number 5 in the end for that Team Talent car. It wasn't an easy race, though, was it?
No, it wasn't easy. I enjoyed the first 30 laps when I drove through the field to get back up to Tanner. Then, other than that, I was just trying to keep a gap between Kevin and everyone else, and a charging Liam and Josh who were closing in on us. But we were just trying to swap drafts, save a little bit of fuel, and hopefully come away with the win. But a couple late cautions kind of made that like the end of the elite race. But it was a fun race. P5. I won the most important one, which was the elite race. So I'll take P5 here.
Oh, a little bit of salt there coming into play. But Austin, of course, it's 364 and a half days away until we do this all over again. Pit number 5 for your team. There's been heartbreaks over the course of the weekend for a number of different drivers. But how was the iRacing Indy 500 for you as an event?
I enjoyed it. Qualifying, I'm really bad at qualifying, so I was lucky to sneak out that 07-8 once. And I was lucky enough to start that at P20, I think it was. But if I knew I could qualify better, I probably would have been not as aggressive and probably just chilled out a little bit better, more, and save more fuel. But it is what it is. There's always next year. Hopefully I get a Q setup to I can make a Q setup to my style and put it up a little bit further on the grid.
Well, who gets it done for that Team Talent car?
Liam at Team Talent, Josh, Chimera, and everyone at Banshee and Absolute Zero.
Well, congratulations for the top 5 then for Austin Espartee. What a weekend we have had here, Randy. And again, this is one of the longest tenured events in all of sim racing history. And it again produces a new winner. In 365 days' time, I'm going to start the broadcast by saying that on the 10th year of the iRacing Indy 500, no one's ever won it twice. That's insane.
There's not, I think, a single event that you can really kind of even talk about that's lasted 10 years. I mean, we've seen the endurance stuff come out, but that's only coming up, I think, on 5 years being out. So you're talking twice the amount of history a lot of those events have. And there's been, there are some other events that have been running about 10 years. You think about the likes of the Coke 600 that we have on the sim. That'll be happening a little bit later. I think the NASCAR iRacing Series will be one of those. You have the likes as well as the Daytona 500, but the history with the NASCAR community for that race really isn't there. It's not sort of held in the same vein that the Indy 500 is with that the iRacing IndyCar community takes with this race. And it's what makes it so special. It's the one race where so many communities come together, so many communities that care about this race, and it's unlike anything else on the sim or on any sim for sim racing anywhere. There's nothing that is in comparison to this.
And there's many people that always say that Josh Chin is a worthy winner because, I mean, he's been around for so long. He's been so close so many times. But in terms of the emotions for teams, there's a lot of people right now who are very happy that Josh Chin has won this motor race. And again, I make the UCF reference because he was so close. Like UCF were to winning games a couple of years ago, and now he's finally landed a big one. This is Chin's win over Auburn.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm not much of a college football aficionado the way you are, but yeah, for Josh, it's going to be a huge weight off his shoulders. I know this is something he always heavily cared about. He'd always turn up around, the start of May, start working with the set, start tinkering, start, trying to make the set better in qualifying. He always qualifies bad. He always kind of owns up to that. Not really sure why. Running flip bars this year definitely didn't help matters, but for him to kind of finally get this weight off his shoulders, getting, a win like this kind of, done and over with. I think the only thing that might be in comparison would be Kevin Ellis kind of finally getting one of those WC GPS wins when he's able to do so. Getting those sorts of check boxes ticked off your achievement list is always a very, very good feeling. And like I said, there's a lot of those big events. There's not too many communities where an event like this is even on people's checklist.
Yep. First of all, we want to say thank you to Hoyt-Involved for being the sponsor of our broadcast here today of the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500. Next, we want to say thank you to these group of people, to Islam Ballard and TrackCams22.com, to Andreas One and One Design, Simon Grossman and Aptioneering.com, Nick Fisson for RaceSpotTV, live timing and scoring. Here are your top 10 one more time. Joshua Chin beats Andrew Kinsella by 13 1,000ths of a second. Jeff Drake, 3rd. Kevin Ellis Jr., 4th. Austin Espartine, 5th. Then Simon Bryant, Bradley Walters, Marcus Jensen, AJ Burton, and Chad Simpson round out your top 10. That is it. Here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Justin Del Sant, Tim Doyle, Young O, Brody Kostecki, Tim Holgate, Cam Stark, Matt Pavelski, Christopher Demerit, and now Joshua Chin are your iRacing Indy 500 champions. Good night from the Brickyard. Good night from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And well, we all wish the drivers luck in the 102nd running of the Indy 500 next weekend on ABC. That's all we got time for. Thank you so much to Hoyt-Involved. I am Will Vincent, Randy Chernoth, and Aaron Likens. We'll talk to you all next time. The Indy 500 again is in the books, and Joshua Chin is your new champion. Good night, and we'll talk to you all next time.